Welcome, everyone, to the seventh episode of the Super Spectrum. I'm Bear Truth. This is my cousin Katie. This is my friend Trevor. And thank you guys for staying tuned. We took about a month break now, but we're back at it. We're going to be reviewing Honey Don't today. And I didn't write a review for this film like I usually do, but you know, the movie kind of is a little eclectic, a little bit scattered and um hard to explain, unless you really see it and it kind of you're able to pick up on what it has to offer because I think that this movie has really deep and good messages. Like it's trying to help people. And so, you know, you guys know me by this time, hopefully. That's the type of movie that I love the most. Like I said, a movie that um, takes risks in the name of love. And I do feel like this movie does that. But I also feel like one of the ideas of this film is to kind of release control and release the, you know, um, yield to the world and, kind of know that some things are out of your hands. And but anyways, this film, to me, masterpiece, 10 out of 10. I think it's very Lynchian, but of course it's made by one of my favorite directors, Ethan Cohen. He also wrote the film and co-wrote it with a woman. And I think that it's fitting that we have my cousin Katie, the first woman to appear on our podcast, and hopefully reoccurring guest and podcast member. For
Hopefully.
from now on, we live 30 minutes away from each other. Not that a distance matters, but Katie loves films, and it's very synchronous that Katie would be here to review a female-led film, which we all enjoyed. And so little bit of, why I give it a 10 out of 10. Like I said, beautiful message, but also um, I think a perfectly paced narrative and story, um, amazing mystery, um, touches on really, really deep subjects that you don't always get to hear about and see the perspective of. Um, but what else would I say? I think that the movie was shot quite well. The only thing that I picked up on was that I think the frame rate might have not been 24, and so it's a little bit jarring. Um, that or my T or the movie screen we saw it on, the hertz were higher than usual, but I don't believe it's that because I don't think that's ever changed at movie theaters. But I do think that the frame rate was higher, and so it kind of looked more like a TV show, which is usually 30 frames per second instead of 24. In some scenes, it was much more noticeable, like in the bar scene. But that's a nitpick 100% because I was completely captivated after I saw a little bit more of where it went because that bar scene's in the beginning and it didn't fully capture me. And that was happening at the time when I was noticing that 30 frames per second type issue.
I'm going to take notes while you're talking, if that's okay.
No, of course, Katie, please. Um, and so that was solved when the movie kept going on, and I noticed how deep it was. But um, yeah, we'll leave it for you're gonna. I think you're gonna understand how much it touched me when I show you all of the symbolism that I found in it. Like you guys know, that's kind of what I bring to the table. In terms of um, entertainment the most. It's not really about the review here, for me at least. It's about the symbolism and meaning behind the film. So I've spoken enough. Um, how about since Katie's writing some notes that she's thinking of on the spot, Trevor, do you want to review and then Katie goes?
Yeah.
Cool.
I didn't write anything for the review either, but I enjoyed it for the most part. It was kind of it seemed like it was supposed to be kind of like a crime comedy. I would call it. I did write this down. I hope this isn't offensive, but it's kind of like a lesbian noir movie. Like it's kind of like a parody of like an old school detective film or show, but with this lesbian woman, and it's kind of funny to me. I think that's what I will say for a review that I noticed is it kind of had some comedic elements, but the things that I found funny, I couldn't tell if they were intentional or not. Like the woman detective or the private detective just kind of being like, "Hey, I'm gonna solve this crime here. What are you doing here?" And like, I think that was intentional, obviously. Like that's the accent they gave her, but like,
Mhm.
she is kind of like this quirky character. Doesn't, and I also couldn't tell. This was kind of cool though, and I didn't realize till like halfway through the movie that it was because of her character. I couldn't tell, is this like in the 90s or is this in the 80s or is this in modern? And there's the scene where he says, COVID still exists. So obviously it takes place now, but then you eventually picked up on like, oh yeah, she is like this um old school character. But
She's an
anyway,
old soul too. She's got
she
wisdom
is.
and is using some of the organizational skills like the Rolodex that, are from the past. And it's like if you always honor your ancestors, you always honor what your parents told you, then you're never alone because you have their wisdom with you. And she's like that deeper, type of person in a really superficial world.
So that's what I'll say for my review. Other than, I guess, the acting, it kind of was all the actors were kind of weirding me out. Like I couldn't tell what they were going for here. It seemed like they were going for kind of like not as serious. Like Chris Evans' character, I I'm not too familiar with like how I've seen him in like obviously Captain America and whatnot. I'm trying to think of what else, but like his character was just so goofy that I couldn't tell if this was just bad acting or just a goofy script and plot. And same with her. Same with Honey. Like I couldn't tell if this was intentionally goofy or just the way that she was playing it. And
I
so
don't mean to interrupt,
no, you're good.
but I have seen Chris Evans in comedic roles before, and I think everything he did was absolutely 100% intentional.
Hmm.
Um, and I thought he was hilarious. Like he was my
Yes, it
favorite part of the movie.
for sure. He definitely was. Yes, no.
So
So that's
he
kind
has very good comedic timing, I think.
he
right.
he's kind of a caricature, but at the
Mhm.
same time, when people are being that fake and phony, they become a caricature, They're
Right.
yeah.
Yep.
Yes. And so yeah, the um you said something, I don't know if you said it just I don't think you said it just now, but we spoke about this film on the phone and like some of it felt a little low budget, like but I didn't really care about that as much. So um there was one last thing I want to say. It was the comedy and the I just couldn't oh, and the what you're gonna get more into, Mike, like the symbolism and the I guess political isn't the word, but like the social messages, I couldn't tell what was intent. And you're not always supposed to be able to tell that. Like good art is kind of it's not always in your face like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I couldn't tell what was supposed to be funny and what I thought was funny, and then what was supposed to be the message and what I took away as the message. Like we'll get into more in here in a sec about that stuff, but yeah, I think there were some things clearly you'll see from our notes and whatnot that Mike took away certain things and I took away certain things that like are totally different, and who knows what the intention was, but that's the point of art, like I said. And so I will give it on the number scale. I'm usually pretty harsh, Katie, just for the record. So like I think I'm gonna go with a 5, which is a good score for me because 5 means I don't love it, but I don't even dislike it. So like I like it, but I don't know if I would probably watch it again just to because of what Mike's talked about. Like there is a lot of stuff that I didn't pick up on. So 5 out of 10, but that's good for me.
No, I can get on board with that. In my opinion, I think there are very few movies I would give a 10 out of 10. So,
He said that like the other night.
yeah.
Yeah, Trevor said that. Well, I don't know if he said exactly that, but he compared that like if he was going to, I think, rate like a good person, they would have to be Jesus, and since no one's Jesus, there is no tens.
That's a
So,
really great way of
and when
putting
he
it.
said that, exactly, when he said that, I was like, oh, you just like made me understand, your rating score. Because me, I'm coming in with like, they tried, I love it, like,
Mhm.
but at the same time, like, if I do feel like the people, it was a work of passion, like
Yeah.
I sense that, and that goes in the score as well. But
Yeah. No, I'm totally on board with his score. I would rate it higher. I'll get into it later, but I think yeah, 5 I think is appropriate. And I can see how you mean it would be a high score. So should it be my turn?
yeah, you
Okay.
done, Trevor?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Katie's.
So overall, I would say I really enjoyed the movie. Uh, I think it's grown on me over time. We saw it about a week. I saw it about a week ago. That was your second time watching it, right?
Yep.
And at first, I was kind of like, that was all over the place, and I kind of left it being like, like I liked it. I caught myself laughing quite a lot,
Mhm.
which is always a plus to me. I guess as long as it's meant to, because we can kind of what you said, it's hard to tell if sometimes if you're laughing when it's not intended in a movie, that can be a bad thing, I suppose. But I thought this movie was very intentionally funny at the parts it was meant to be. Uh, and I found myself thinking about it more than I was expecting to as this past week has gone since I've seen it. And yeah, I did think the story structure was kind of sloppy and all over the place. That didn't really bother me too much though. Um, but I do think I only watched one review on YouTube. I just told Mikey before we sat down and started recording that I like to, after I watch movies, I like to watch YouTube reviews from other people's and see other people's perspectives. And one person said they thought this movie was what is it called? Style over substance. And I can see how some people would think that because this movie is, I thought, very visually gorgeous. I thought it was very beautiful, like pretty much every scene. Although I do think you have to be a certain kind of person who appreciates the visual style because it might not hit for everyone. To me, it was like dripping in sepia tones. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, like Western.
And it gave me very strong Breaking Bad vibes, which
Okay,
is a
good.
great thing. The acting was fantastic too. I also think the main actress who played Honey, I thought she was fantastic. Loved her. And but like I mentioned earlier, I think Chris Evans stole the whole show because I am a fan of his. Sure it doesn't come as a surprise, but and I've seen him in comedic roles before. He was hilarious and fantastic.
He's like a main character. He's in
Yeah,
the movie a lot, which
it's
I'm so happy.
and I found it was kind of ironic how his character was so impactful, but then at the end he kind of didn't really have anything to do with it. Almost
Yeah.
depending,
Mhm.
I guess it depends on how you perceived the ending, but so I think the movie definitely can grow on you. It's grown on me. One thing I found myself thinking of a lot is I feel like her name in the movie is very unique and iconic. I found myself thinking of that scene a lot where Charlie Day's character would, every time she would walk into the police office, he'd be just like, Honey O'Donoghue.
Yeah. Yeah.
I found myself thinking of that a lot.
Mhm.
What else did I want to point out? I think I covered mostly everything I wanted to say. I would rate it, I think, 7.5 out of 10.
That's awesome.
Because I did enjoy it a lot. Maybe on future watches, I might rate it higher because I do like to watch things more than once. But I enjoyed it a lot.
I'm glad you picked. So in my reviews, sometimes I'll remember to think about actors and like the atmosphere, like you said, but like those are two things very important to me. Although, I'm a big symbolism guy, so sometimes I can make excuses if, I don't, feel like the acting was the best, even though I don't think we've gone over a movie like that so far, but other than Jurassic Park Rebirth, but and that movie, I don't think it's the actor's fault. I think it's the story's fault. But anyways, glad you picked up on that, and I would agree with all of it. And the other thing I thought of was me, Trevor, Katie, we all thought the same thing, that we couldn't. We actually we all made the same mistake. We all thought the movie ended a certain way, and it didn't end that way.
That's
And
funny.
yeah, I didn't tell you yet, but when I heard Katie say it too, or other way around, whenever I heard the second person say it, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna bring that up in the review.
Mhm.
But that didn't, to me, when I was writing the review, I was, oh, this ending that I later on in the second watching figured out wasn't the real ending. I was like, this ending's so smart, it doesn't matter. And it really, it was a good ending if it went that way, anyways. But the way that it did, which I had to explain to both of them because I was like, guys, the way that you're thinking right now, that the way the movie ended, that wasn't exactly, that's not how it ended. So there's, like someone said, one of you guys, that it was like sloppy story, but I think that it might not even be that, but it's like the movie is so surprising and so um like
I think because it's trying to put a lot in there,
that's the
and
best thing, yeah.
it might come across sloppy or it might
Right.
feel sloppy
Right.
because it's trying to it's so heavy.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep. It's
And I
doing a
don't mean
lot.
that in a bad
There's
way.
many
Yes,
things
it's
going
doing a
on,
lot.
but then there's also many things
Hmm.
deep that are going on that you're trying to understand. And so, but you're also trying to like pay attention to the movie. So it's like, yeah, very,
Yeah.
very, it's interesting that that we all thought the same thing, and none of it was right. So I think, watch it a second time if you guys didn't like it the first time. Um, because you might think that the original ending that you have in your head, if it's, the wrong one we had, that it wasn't a good ending. But anyways,
We can.
uh, yeah,
Do you want to like start spoiler alert
yeah.
territory? Just because I think that is kind of funny, like what it was that my whole review, or not review, but like I
Mhm.
wrote down a decent amount of stuff that, like, my whole opinion on the meaning of the movie was based on what I thought the ending was, which was not what it was. I thought that she uh didn't solve the crime in the end,
Mhm.
and like I just thought that was so funny because I thought the whole message that I took away from it at that point, thinking that, was that like she was trying to balance this like work and like sex life,
Mhm.
and as a woman and a lesbian woman at that, and like I'm not too familiar with either of those experiences or any of those experiences, like being a detective and a woman and gay. And she's like, um yeah, it just, what I took away from it is that she kind of went, she got distracted by like her love interests and wasn't able to focus on her job or like the crime, or the case or whatnot. But that wasn't what it was about at all, really. Like, because she
Yeah.
did figure it out, and yeah. So I
That's
do
It,
have some other things, but
if we are getting into spoiler territory now,
Mhm.
uh, there is another aspect that she was juggling amidst all of this too. Her family, like the whole thing
right,
with her niece, wasn't exactly related to her cases that she was investigating,
Well, it ends
right?
up being that it is. Her niece is, so spoilers, the niece, um,
Oh,
the,
she ends up at the church.
no, the niece was, remember, abducted by Aubrey Plaza's character,
Oh
MG.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And MG is the stabber who is the character, the serial killer who is the one who killed the woman in the beginning, because that, or at least it's said that that lady, the trying to, the MacGuffin, she had stab wounds in her stomach, like, and that she died before she ran off the thing. That's what Charlie Day's character says is the update in the case, when he's speaking to Honey. And so yeah, like, we all, that's the thing, we all missed that MG was the murderer. Like, that was the thing. It was so shocking and surprising and came out of left field that I was just like, that was one of the things I thought was rough at first. But then, like, I think Katie's saying is that, like, there is something there and it's something massive. It's just because it's a different thing you're not expecting, and it just takes you off guard. But it's so, it's even deeper because it's something you weren't expecting. And it's, I'm going to break down into it, but it's very metaphorical what it is about. But also going to the ending that we thought was actually the ending, which is not the ending. I but it still ends up being a moral of the story, is the letting sleeping dogs sleep, which I already have said before is kind of the, yielding to society, and yielding to the things we can't control. And that's that's what we like. Originally, I was like, okay, she doesn't solve the investigation, like Trevor said. But meanwhile, she does solve the investigation, um, and but she still lets sleeping dogs sleep when it comes to, and I'll get to it. I'll say it again, so please don't be bothered. But when it comes to, she lets sleeping dogs sleep when it comes to solving the murder of, well, she knows who solved, or sorry, she knows who killed the minister, which was the French lady, but she doesn't take her to justice. So if justice was blind, and justice was, it's this way to no matter who it is, then she would go ahead and rat on, or turn in the French lady and continue the investigation on that. But she's not like that. She is the one, not the justice system, but she is the one who gets to balance the scales, and say what is right and discern what is right. And this is all going to go into every part of the aspect of the movie later on too, because it's all about balancing, and her balancing what's right. But another cool fact, she's driving a car that has the tag September on it, and that would mean that she's either a Virgo or a Libra. And she's probably a Libra because, she is Lady Justice. She's the one who's able to balance the scales. But yeah.
I mean, I think that's a very good point because she's a private detective who, in a lot of stories, is portrayed as like the objective viewpoint
Yep. Right.
because they're on
That's funny.
neither side, like the
Right.
law necessarily or their client. They're kind of in the middle.
Okay, so because I know you love Sherlock, is
Hmm.
there, you said they're more objective, so
They can be.
they can be more objective, but See, what I thought you meant when you originally said that is that they're always going to, work on the side of what the system says, the law. But, if that's not the case
Not
that you've noticed,
necessarily.
okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome. If that's a reoccurring thing, and
At least in what I've seen.
Mhm.
I have no real life experience with private detectives.
Mhm.
Just in media that I've consumed, private detectives seem to be separate from the system, like the police or the law.
Right.
Sometimes they can work together, but people often go to a private detective when they're not getting what they need
Mm,
from the police
true.
department.
Right. So, and well, that idea of like not just going with the authority, not going with the city authority or like, the state authority, and instead going in and following yourself, following your intuition, right? What you know to be true. That is that's more of a feminine trait, and because men are so obsessed with leadership, they actually become followers of many leaders, and that's a huge problem with the world, I would say. But anyways, we're gonna get into all that. I don't want to go skip ahead, but another thing Katie made me think of is that Inherent Vice is the other Skip Tracer, or private investigator, PI, movie that this reminds me of, and I'm so glad she made me think of that, because I hope everyone goes and sees and reads, because that is my favorite book other than Harry Potter. Inherent Vice taught me and really reaffirmed my worldview. Go read it. That's what I'll say about that. But it's maybe we'll do it for a classic. But we're gonna speak about Inherent Vice probably again, because Battle After Battle, Paul Thomas Anderson's new film, which I hope we review soon. It comes out in like 2 days or something. Um, it's made by Paul Thomas Anderson, who directed and adapted the film into Inherent Vice into a film, the book into a film. But this new movie is also an adaptation. In a way, it's much more loose adaptation of another Thomas Pynchon book, or Pynchon book, called Vineland, which I read about 100 or 200 pages into, and it didn't grasp me, or captivate me as much as Inherent Vice, so I stopped reading it. But yeah, I'm interested in the new movie by Paul Thomas Anderson. Um, so we'll talk about that, I'm sure. But let's start on the notes, guys. First thing I noticed in the film, I wrote down immediately, was her leopard print, the French woman's leopard print. Um, that's a symbol of being untamed, and being wild, and you know, living your life however you want it to be, right? Being free, right? Because that's what the leopard is. The leopard's the top of the food chain. It's not, and it's never going to be domesticated, you know? That's that strong, you know, it really could be any person, of course, but it's the feminine, now in this movie at least, being, free to, you know, go by her own will. And that's what ends up being in the end of the film with Honey. Although she's like that the entire time, she gets even more like that in the end. And that's, of course, the French character. And the French woman character, she also, after, to like show you more evidence that this is what the leopard print symbolism is, she takes a bath right after the first scene. In the second scene, she takes a bath in a lake, and that's like a hippie thing to do, but that's also a thing to do if you're one with nature, right? You don't follow the rules of man, right? You're more, wild and free, like a leopard. And so, and hippies are all about freedom, blah blah blah. So um yeah.
They were very, in that scene at the very beginning, they were very ham fisted with the leopard print.
Oh, they were, exactly. And
When she
so
gets
you
out of
have to.
when she gets out of the lake, her
Mhm.
underwear is leopard print,
Right.
her pants are leopard print, and her helmet on the motorcycle scooter, whatever she drove, was also leopard print.
Right.
I feel like that was very, very
Intended.
like, yeah, of course, intentional, and it was like impossible to miss, even if you're someone like me who like it takes me a minute to pick up on symbolism and stuff like that, but you that's something you could not miss right
Right.
away.
So you felt like, okay, I may not know what the leopard print means, but the director's doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. And I'm glad I have the second evidence piece because if I didn't, maybe that, what Katie just said wouldn't be enough. But yeah, this director, you should look him up if you don't know, guys. Him and his brother, Joel and Ethan Cohen. I think this was Ethan's work, but Joel and Ethan Cohen are total masters and they
That
intend everything they do.
while just real quick, this I guess should have been part of the review, but doesn't really matter at this point. But I told you like my favorite movie.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's my favorite movie ever, but probably at the moment my favorite movie is Burn After Reading, which is a Coen Brothers movie.
right.
And this weirdly reminded me of that. It was like a smaller version. I don't know how to put it, but like scaled down. Like the world was a lot smaller,
Mhm.
although there was a lot going on. That's why it reminded me. So there's a lot going on, and then there's like this weird hijinks of murders or killings that are like somehow super intricately connected, but like you never saw it coming that way. And so I just thought that was interesting. I didn't really know that was like their thing was like this weird mystery. I don't know if that is I haven't seen I've seen The Big Lebowski. I've seen
Fargo. Fargo is their first film, which is also a female lead, which is not very common, especially in the highest productions. Um, Fargo is what's got them started, and that is a female lead mystery.
so it's
Female
kind of
lead.
like a a, a comedic
Dark comedy, it's called.
dark comedy. Yeah. It's like a
Right.
but the with the murder and the blood, it was kind of like a comedic Tarantino-ish
Well,
kind of thing.
they're the dark comedy directors. Every movie they have is a dark comedy. They're known for
Okay.
their humor and they're known for their darkness.
I don't
Like,
think I've seen any of these movies you guys are talking about or
what
any
about
of
The
their
Big
feature
Lebowski?
movies. Nope. I'm gonna
That
have to watch that.
that's a detective movie too, even though the
Yeah.
character's not a real detective.
I'll have to watch the more of their movies.
Yeah, I
They're
wasn't
they're always my favorite with the other ones I
I've
list.
heard a lot about The Big Lebowski, of course. It's a like a cult classic, right?
Yep.
I just haven't seen it.
It's another film equal to all my other favorite films. So is Fargo.
so yeah, that was just a side note that it did I could tell, I could see what their style is now because I've seen The Big Lebowski, I saw Burn After Reading, which my friend recommended that to me a few months ago, and like I've never heard of it before or since, so that's kind of a weird one for sure. Um, but so yeah, this you can continue with this symbolism.
Well, Katie can see it right now. She sees I have a lot. I want to be equal with what I want you guys to have as much voice as I do. So how about one of you guys give a note really quick? Just like, I did. Just
I have another note I
okay.
forgot to mention earlier. Um, that one scene towards the beginning when she was sitting down with a client who was asking her to investigate his boyfriend he thought was cheating on him.
Yep.
And the first thing he says is COVID.
Right.
I found that very jarring. And I kind of wish they didn't put clear time period markers. I think there was only one other time period indication
Mhm.
other than that one. And I kind of wish they didn't include those two time period markers because overall, the whole movie felt very timeless to me, which
Mhm.
thoroughly enjoyed. So the mention of COVID really threw me.
I got
I
Yeah,
you.
mean, it was a choice, clearly.
Right.
I'm having a hard time figuring out like why they included that.
I think because they want they want to make the most, even though it's hard to interpret unless, and it's really not that hard because it's the hero's journey, the encounter with the unconscious and then integration with it. And then, also the encounter with the spiritual world and then the integration with it. Um, you know, so, but if, and the unseen forces, but I think what they wanted to do was make it as relatable as possible and give as much information and as much value to it. To me, when I see a movie, it's like this is how I can help. If I understand this film and I understand the directors, I could live my life better, right?
Mhm.
So when I see a character who's portrayed in the way that this character was, who's still obsessed with COVID, that's that's such a check mark, like, okay, I'm not like him, I'm doing good, So, but, obviously he's doing a lot more and he represents a lot more. It's just sometimes hard, but I'm glad that they put it in our time period so that I
Mhm.
could be like, still like, okay, these are things I understand and relate with.
I just thought of another reason they might have included it,
Hmm.
perhaps to contextualize the lesbianism,
Yep. Yeah.
because in our modern day, like gay relationships are common and accepted now, So maybe if there wasn't a clear indication of time period,
Mm,
the lesbianism might have been seen as more, if it was like further in the past, it could have been like, ooh, this is taboo,
unrealistic.
or
Being
Right.
portrayed unrealistically,
right.
right? Somehow, we don't know exactly how, but I'm glad that Katie brought that up because the I think the lesbian thing is so to me, like, who you're attracted to. It doesn't, like, I'm not going to assume anything about you based on that because when I look at my attractions, they're fucking excuse me, they're weird. And then and it doesn't, it's like that's like my base. Everyone has a base instinct, what their desire, what they're attracted to. And it's really not a choice for me, and I don't think it's a choice for anyone. And so when you have a character who's as smart as this lesbian is and as, person that I would like to be like as she is, then it's like I think very humanizing, especially when you put it in a time period that, like I said, you could relate to more, like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, this character's like me, like and oh, and she's not ruled by social media. She's not ruled by all of the things that maybe, I have problems with. I know I'd have problems with. And
Mhm.
maybe the person who might be looking at her as like, oh wow, like she's like me in the lesbian way, you know, but I'm not, doing everything that smart that she's doing as well when it comes to just basic life. And maybe I could be more like her, and then hopefully I think that person would be bettered from that. So, I think
Right.
that's all good.
I think in stories, there's kind of, at least what I've seen, it seems like there's two ways you could handle the sexuality of characters.
Mhm.
It can be incidental where it like is just random or has no implications on the plot, but this one definitely is an intentional choice and does have implications on the plot and characters, with the main character being attracted to women and being a woman herself. So, and this was, maybe we could bring up that note that I mentioned while we were watching it.
The one about the trauma or
the
abuse.
contrast the
Oh,
contrast between the love scenes, because
okay, yeah.
there are there are several love scenes, sex scenes, however you want to call it, in this movie, with the main character Honey and her lesbian interactions,
Mhm.
and then there's the Chris Evans character, the minister of the church. And to me, the two sets of sex scenes we've seen in the movie are very contrasting,
Mhm.
because for several reasons, but Chris Evans' characters, it's always very controlling, and there's, elements of, I guess, BDSM, bondage,
Domination,
whatever. Yeah.
power tripping, the false masculine, the the imbalanced masculine things to do.
It's very emotionally detached.
Emotionally detached, right? Yep, all about
It's
the
purely
sex.
about physical,
Right.
the physicalness of it. Yeah. And then with Honey's character and her sex scenes, it was very tender and more like traditional lovemaking to me, at least. That's
Right.
how it seemed.
Like not just
Like they're people in a loving
making
relationship.
love.
Yes.
Really making
Yes.
love.
Not
Like
just
you the way you said it, yeah.
right, not just having sex. There was that emotional connection too that
Right.
is often present during
Right.
sexual interactions. So, and I found it interesting how they put the loving relationship in the homosexual one
Yep.
and made the
Mm.
heterosexual sex scenes the emotionally detached ones.
Right. And I think that probably overall, like that's especially when it comes down to what's running a man's mind, when he's like really dominating, like sometimes a trophy wife. We've all heard of that. It's like, look how cool and smart I am because I was able to get this beautiful woman. It's not about like, oh, what is she like? Like what's she good about? Or like what's good about her? It's just like, oh, she stays at home, takes care of the kids, does all the stuff I don't want to do, so yeah.
And with talks of homosexual relationships, it's often more about I found that at least with people who don't understand it, it's more about the physicality of it. And I feel like you hardly see the emotional side of it being talked about as much because it's not just who you're for many people, it's not just who you're physically attracted to, but it's who you're romantically interested in and emotionally attracted to as well.
And
So I think it was very intentional in this movie how they illustrated that with the lesbian characters, and I really enjoyed that.
okay, so glad we're bringing it up now. You also first, the contrast. Well, you said heterosexual, but it's also the relationships that men are in are bad. The gay character and the Captain America character, Chris Evans. Now, the one where the women are in, it is much more equal and egalitarian and free and loving, and which are all feminine traits.
I
Not
mean,
saying that we only, but we're in a male society.
women are typically more
Yeah,
emotional as well.
right.
So,
In touch with other people's emotion, don't want to hurt them because of that.
mhm.
And kind of losing it.
So when you have two women in a romantic and sexual relationship together, it can be very emotionally heavy or emotionally charged.
Okay.
Because that's the nature of most women to be. Women are more emotional typically.
Yes. And this is like, we're in a patriarchy, but like if we had a more feminine, it would probably be better. And that's kind of, she's the leader for that, Honey. But also, Katie brought up, and I don't want to put words in Katie's mouth. I think she has this idea better than I do, and she'll, when I remind her of it, hopefully she'll be able to back me up and tell me actually what I meant. But the so good, the that women, I'm not sure exactly, I think often, and this I'm adding a little bit too. Katie will reinforce the core of it, but I think women can be often turned off by this patriarchal way and the way that men follow this patriarchy. And so then they become lesbian. That's not exactly what Katie said, but Katie had in the movie talked about how this character, Honey, had trauma with her father. And then,
Right.
and then maybe that led her to be more open to women or I don't know. I can't remember exactly what
No,
she said.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I remember what we were
Okay.
talking
Thank
about.
you. Please.
There's a line that really stood out to me in this movie where she was on the phone with Charlie Day's character and she said something like, you're my favorite man that I've met, or something like that. And I thought that was a very peculiar thing to say. Again, a very intentional choice, I thought, by the writers of the movie. she might have been being completely serious there because she had that history with that abusive history with her father. She is not attracted to men in a sexual or romantic capacity.
Hmm.
So she doesn't really have it didn't seem like she had very many significant relationships with males really at all. So it's kind of ironically sad that she thinks that Charlie Day's character is her favorite man she's ever met, and he's still like this kind of
Yeah.
jerky kind of, asshole character who is constantly pursuing her even though she's actively told him, I'm not attracted to men, I like women, and he
Right.
constantly just ignores it. Like
Right.
he's kind of came off to me as that typical, you know,
Jock.
uh male character who, or male person who is the type of guy who will not take a woman seriously when she says she's a lesbian, or not interested in men in general, because he's like, oh, you just haven't met the
Right.
right man yet, like that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
And if to say that's my favorite man, then that means that every other man must either have that fault that he has and is worse, or has faults that are just way worse. And so, right, but this does kind of like I think I was kind of alluding to before, this kind of does allude to the way that men are, trained in the society, society that only you, it's only what you are able to accomplish, that and what your worth is based off of what you have. And so, and that's why they become possessive of women,
Mhm.
and treat them like, you know
Classic objectifying mentality.
objectifying, exactly. So yeah, yeah, and like you were saying, like that oh no, like all women must be, attracted to me because I'm a knight in shining armor,
Hmm.
like and yeah, so there's so
If I
much.
could, some of my basically all the things I've written down have to do with all this because, like I said, Mike kind of brings the spiritual, symbolic side of things, and I'm
Mhm.
usually more, although I am a very spirit, or I try to be a very spiritual person in my life. When it comes to art, I'm my brain goes more towards the sometimes the more technical side, but also the more social side. And like you guys are saying, like, but I wanted to give the other perspective too, because when I watched this, so this whole thing, the whole movie left me kind of with a lot of questions in a good way, like, and you guys have answered a lot of them because, um, like I said, I might have said this earlier, you can tell he's got sort of a liberal approach to his message,
Mhm.
but on the other hand, with what you're describing, yes, there is this. That's kind of what I wrote down is like, this shows the toxic side of, I would say, both the masculine and feminine sides of people in society. Like, in the most balanced characters would probably be Charlie Day's character and Honey.
I
But
think I would.
even they have these like, they're not perfect. No one's perfect.
Right.
But um so the things I was confused about that you guys answered is just like, there's a few other questions I have. Like, it seemed to be, although the more obvious ones were Chris Evans and Charlie, I don't remember his name in the movie, but um they're clearly toxic men. There's also a lot of toxic women, like, and they're not very toxic. Like, there's the single mom who, like, I wouldn't call her toxic, but like, there's the single mom who, like, clearly she's just like, don't tell me how to parent. I'm doing my best. When clearly,
Mm.
I'm not a single mom with a bunch of kids like that, but she doesn't seem to be trying her best. Like she's kind of just letting it all happen and then dealing with the consequences.
That's
And
the
then
imbalanced feminine. That's the imbalanced feminine is
right,
being
That's
that's what
interesting.
too free,
Yeah.
exactly.
and so there is no love actually, even though you're doing it out of love.
Wow. So yes,
And
that's another
that's what Honey's problem is. She never could have seen MG being the killer because she's like, oh, well, uniform cop, like we had sex. She's not like,
right.
but she's not, she's being too kind, too selfless. And that's how Honey completes herself is then, understanding, that people are capable of terrible things and you should be, very selfish in some ways and protect yourself from them.
And what I guess what left me ultimately confused that getting more understanding of is so he's got this liberal message seemingly, but it's mostly a feminist or not feminist, but there's a lot of feminine characters and very few of them, just like the men, very few of them are, ideal characters. Basically, only Honey is like unless I'm forgetting someone. Honey, and then like her assistant's pretty chill, but like
The French woman is the most balanced character in the whole movie.
oh right,
She's what Honey becomes in the
Mm.
end.
right. So yeah, you have a very we'll basically get into yours after this. Because you have a very your breakdown was like I told you this, I would go as far as to say is I don't even know if this might be like a cosmic thing. I do think they intentionally did a lot of these things, but you also I think are reading into like something deeper that they didn't may not have even intended just with how deep it is. Um, but real quick, um, I guess that was it. Yeah, like it kind of shows both sides of the imbalance. Oh, one thing I thought of, a crazy parallel. I would even argue, because with what you were describing and what made me interject is like, what you were describing is like the imbalanced male or masculinity, I guess. And Chris Evans, um, this might be this might be controversial or not true. It just like popped into my head. I wonder if Chris Evans' character and Aubrey Plaza's character are kind of like these.
Hmm.
They're like she's like a masculine woman,
Mhm.
and he's kind of like a feminine. But I hesitate to say that's the controversial part. I would hesitate to say that he's like a feminine man because I think that's okay. They're both almost emulating the imbalanced opposite gender. So like she's
In
trying
a
to be this
different person.
yes,
Sorry, in the opposite gender,
yes,
which
yes.
gets across the point.
I can see
Right.
that.
She's
Yeah.
trying to emulate the toxic man like
Right.
my way or the highway. And he is kind of like emulating I don't
A controlling wife kind of is what it gave
right.
me.
Okay. Th-
Right.
I can see
these
it.
are the two secondary main characters, okay? So if there was going to be a subplot like this as a writer, that's who you're going to put it in. And like I said before, or well, I've said it to Trevor before, said it to Katie before, MG is what Trevor just described, the machismo, blah 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 in a woman's body. And so yes, Trevor, um I would love to, what Katie just said, I couldn't fully understand. Katie, say it again. She's a bad wife or
He get Chris Evans'
he is
character
that, yeah,
gave me controlling wife
controlling
vibes.
wife vibes.
Now I didn't realize it until Trevor just mentioned that they're like foils of each other with be and embodying like toxic characteristics of the opposite gender. I think that's a brilliant point, and I didn't really think of it, but it makes total sense now that you point it out. And
Yeah, I
I'm just
just thought of
thinking,
that too.
you have me thinking of this one scene in the movie where Chris Evans' character,
Mhm.
it's like right after um that one drug mover, his abuela gets killed.
Hmm.
Mhm.
He's
Yes.
like, and he like bursts in and interrupts him having sex with some of the women in his church, and he's just standing there like this with his arms on his hips. I'm like, yeah, that's like a pissed off wife, like
Okay.
like a classic trad wife, like.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
like
funny.
that so yeah, there's the so he's completely materialistic, and I feel like, you know, that's like kind of the opposite of femininity, right? And so that would be the imbalanced femininity,
Mhm.
and that's kind of sadly what we have the most of maybe. And not to say that it's not rampant among men, but in our Barbie princess culture, where handbag is the coolest thing ever, we're going to spend millions, not millions, we're going to spend thousands of dollars on a handbag, and we don't have much personality or ideas beyond that. Yeah, that's totally like a um, imbalanced, whacked out thing, and that is kind of, yeah, like you're saying, like it's like, so that's like when a woman almost does what a man's nature is to do, and then does it wrong in the dark shadow, like clown mirror messed up way. And so that would make sense why a man is portraying the feminine thing, because he's so outside of his body or something, or whatever, or what his body
I
or
I get what you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
and I think those are common uh things in society, like in our society at least, not like for all of history, but yeah, like um a lot of, I guess that's just people in general. Yeah, everyone's got different balances of different feminine and masculine traits, but there are a lot of guys who are seeking. This is just such a complicated thing to say. Yeah, like they're seeking the negative, like the side of femininity. Like they're just chasing um, pleasure, I guess. And women are also doing what the toxic men used to do, which is like they're trying to they see their worth in accomplishment and
Mm.
in money,
It's
which
the girl boss kind of culture.
Girl boss, yep,
Yeah.
right.
exactly. And that's kind of, like what he's doing, where he's a boss, but he isn't a boss of himself, because he's got a lot of work to do on himself. But you could become a boss in this world where it's so materialistic, if you're so materialistic. Um, and then you're just going to be a crappy boss. And but yeah, that's great. I think that was totally intended. So wow, Trevor, cool. Thank you, Katie, for like bringing it together. Now, um, oh well, and like I said, when if a I believe femininity is more on the spiritual side. They're the intuitive, they're the classic witch, they're the classic tarot reader, they're the um they're like, I don't know if I said intuitive, they're in touch with themselves. But I had something good, but I missed it. But anyways, you know, um, where it's the opposite now, it's pretty, unfortunate. But so here's the next thing. Um, oh, I think I was gonna say wisdom. Wisdom
Mm.
is usually like a person who is not just intelligence, like man is reason, he can figure out a problem, right? But if you want a wise answer, what's the right thing to do in this situation? What's the right application of the knowledge you have, right? What's the most heartful, soulful thing to do for everyone, right? Including yourself, but that's wise wisdom. And Shekina, the swan in the Hindu religion, can't remember the goddess' name, but Shekinah comes from, that's the feminine aspect of God in Judaism. Those are all, that's wisdom. And the high priestess in tarot, she represents this. This is intuition, and not following others, like, in a man's world. and basically throughout history, it's always been men following men, but in the with women, you know, who are like the oracles, the one that the man goes to for advice, and oftentimes will do so in a relationship as well. They're using their wisdom and excuse me. But anyways, and that comes from more of like a intuitive, like, you know, because like I said, they're in touch with their emotions, and so they're also going to feel the pain of others, not want to cause it, and so that's the right thing to do, you know, not cause the pain and, you know, reduce the amount of suffering for everyone, and so that's why it's more wise. But anyways, and more of a feminine trait, you know, even though it might sound counterintuitive if you don't understand, you know, like some of the esoteric stuff like I do. But anyways, the Marty character, Charlie Day, he won't accept honey likes girls. Like the gay guy won't accept the end of COVID, or that he doesn't need to know who his boyfriend is cheating on him with, and that he should just resolve the issue with the boyfriend instead, right? He's not wise. Also, but meanwhile, Honey's giving him the wise advice that he just won't. He refuses to think about, you know, because this boyfriend, gay boyfriend, he wants the power. He's like, you know, I got screwed over. You know, I want the power in the relationship. I want power over him. You know, I want to dominate him now because he messed me up. So these are all, you know, whacked out masculine traits. But also like so they talking about things that people won't accept, right? Meanwhile, for feminine, it's you know you're you don't care much as much about power. You care more about love, and so you're more hands off. You're more cooperative. You're more free, and controlling things and accepting things, right? Not accepting things because you're out of control. That's like a masculine, more of a masculine folly, you know? And so these are all people that I'm listing that make this mistake. So let me just start over real quick. Charlie Day, he won't accept honey likes girls. Just like the gay guy won't accept the end of COVID, or that he doesn't need to know who his boyfriend is cheating on him with, and that he should just resolve the issue with the boyfriend instead. He can't accept that. Also, like how MG won't accept that the church is out of her control and that the church is always going to control people. And you know, that's why she's so pissed. Hector's, which is actually a noble thing, but at the end of the day, you know, you you have to know when to yield, you know. Anyways, Hector's grandma is also a slave to her beliefs, right? Slave to what she won't accept. Um, and so is Honey's niece. Sorry, so is Honey's niece a slave to her boyfriend. She's subservient and makes excuses for his crimes, following unwaveringly. This is a problem for most followers, be it their husband, their wife, their religion, their country or leader, or their belief system. Like, you know, if you're a big into science, you know, and that's all your only, you know, way of learning, you know, that's, you know, that could really be, you know, science is great, but, you know, science is about knowing that, you know, science is more theory than it is fact most of the time. But, and then it's always open to being improved, right? And so that was a couple of things. Do you guys want to say anything on that, or do you want to go share a different note that you guys had?
You know, told you this last night. I actually think that the grandma is a version of, although in today's society that's not a popular take and can be toxic, obviously, being so, you know, but I do think she was a balanced woman, although she was traditional. Like she may, I don't think she was, I don't know. I thought the grandma was like a goofy, uh although she died tragically, I thought it was like a cute, wholesome moment that kind of showed, um maybe not balance might not be the right word, but if you're going to be traditional, like that traditional, um yeah, I mean, she was saying, that's a woman's job. Don't go do your laundry. But um and then she was like just really worried about him. But that's what I'm saying. That's the other side of that type of woman is like she was worried about him ultimately. Like it is a little crazy she's calling going out and grabbing the laundry a woman's job, but you know, in certain relationships and families, like that's just how it is, and like
And it could
that
work. It could be beneficial to everyone, including them.
that's
It could not be a form of slavery, but it's just an imbalance. A thing that gets can easily get imbalanced, I think is the problem. Yeah.
this that's a good way to put it, easily imbalanced. But that scene, I told you this last night, had made me realize something about that type of traditional family that like I never thought of. This may not even be true,
Mhm.
but it seems true. The reason I feel like she might be so, and she's the grandma, so this is different than what I'm about to describe. But the reason a woman in that sort of relationship might be so upset if you do something that's because I've heard that in another context in real life recently, a woman's job, from a woman saying that to a man, like a very traditional person. And the reason that might be valued to them is because so the man goes out and does the man's job, the woman does the woman's job. If the man does things that are considered the woman's job, whatever that may be,
Mhm.
although that seems crazy in our day and age, that might set the balance of their relationship off. So when she needs him to do something, he he might be, over, although laundry is not that it it can that might not overextend someone's, you know, energy. Like he might not be completely burnt out from doing something like that to help her out. She might need him at a certain point emotionally, and he might be completely burnt out because he did all that. He cooked and when he wasn't supposed to or something. Like that's might be a stretch, but that's just what I thought of when I saw that scene. Like, maybe she's not like a crazy old lady who just like now. That was reading a lot into a very short scene where she just said basically like, "Don't go get the laundry. I think she said you're gonna be the death of me."
I thought she was like probably the most wholesome character in the entire movie. She was very endearing, and I think kind of maybe in summation of what you guys were saying about her, she was to me she kind of seemed like an idealized version of
Mhm.
like the traditional matriarchal character, you know? Like the grandma who takes care of everyone and how she was saying that's the woman's job, you know? So it's kind of like I said, an idealized version because she's doing the tasks traditionally assigned to the women of the household,
Mhm.
but she's like more than happy to,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And go like it's it's like like the overly loving thing, like the too selfless, being too selfless thing.
It's
Uh
the opposite of the single mom who like has too many kids who like
Right.
can't take care of any of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sort of. I don't know.
well, they're both I feel like they're probably both like the feminine like imbalanced.
Well,
So
no, no,
they at
that's
least you know yeah.
Yeah.
that's what I meant by opposite. I didn't mean like she's the perfect version of. I'm saying
Mhm.
the one is too free and the other
They're like
one's
opposite
too.
extremes.
Okay.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah.
one's too
That makes
loving, like you said.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And and we're gonna get into it. I think it's the next one, but like, yeah, the mother is I'm gonna get into it. It's actually the next one. So, but some stuff I picked up, going through Instagram or wherever the hell I picked it, reading a book or whatever. There is, some interesting things about the sexual organs and reproductive organs, the generative organs. A man's penis is his weapon, his sword. He pierces a woman with it, right? A woman who has the womb, but also a wound, a cut that is always there where the sword goes in, if you know what I'm saying.
Whoa.
And yes,
I
and there,
never thought about that.
yeah,
He was
I
saying
don't
this to me while we
remember.
were watching the movie, and I was like,
Yeah. And well, and this is like when you see this, it's like you see, the spiritual, lining of, men being too dominant and too powerful, too strong, too overbearing, and how it's, echoed into history, but it's literally in the gender itself, it's but anyways, a woman should shield herself, right? The opposite of the sword, the shield. She should shield herself from that weapon if he isn't the right one. And there is a shield on the wall in when they walk into the bar with two axes on it. I can't really exactly remember what the symbolism of an axe is, but it has something to do with having two sides. I can't remember. Anyways, I wish I did, but um um but right, so she should shield herself from that weapon, that sword, if the person is, bad for her or could be bad for the children they're about to make. But many don't, and they can't if they're assaulted, right? Um, Honey is taking out General. So now that was a little background, but think about this when I'm about to tell you this. When Honey gets the double barrel shotgun from the boyfriend of her niece, and breaks it, bam bam bam, and breaks it for about 30 seconds or more, a minute in the film, like she's going psychotic. She's getting out her generational frustration, because guess what, she is symbolically, metaphorically, subconsciously castrating that man.
Mm,
That is his member. That is the new sword. Stopping him, subconsciously, from being able to impregnate her niece, who will, if he does, will have been the echo, the new generation of that trauma, which her mother, Honey's Honey's sister, but the niece's mother, is the representation of. Why? Because this mother, has many children, all from different fathers, right? And Honey asks, "How many kids are you going to have? I'm a little worried," right? And or this, I'm not worried about you know, how you raise your kids. I'm worried about how many you're going to have, she says, something like that. And yes, this is the problem, because um, the woman in that situation was being too free, was being too loving, too romantic, too hopeless romantic, thinking that, oh, I she we people who are too heavily feminine, too heavily loving, too heavily empathetic, they project that on other people, just like everyone projects how they are on other people. So me myself, I know this because I'm a natural empath. I would always be like, oh, this is a good person, So I was a terrible judge of character for much of my life. So it's not to blame any woman who's had this situation happen with her, but it is a thing in our society that I believe that this film was trying to portray, and I think it was so beautiful. So let me just see.
could I add
Yeah,
on to what you were saying?
go ahead, bub.
I have several thoughts about the single mom character with the ton of kids.
Mm-hmm.
There's that scene where she says, "Don't tell me how to parent."
Right.
But at what point are you going to realize yourself? This might be a controversial take, but I know you and I are both kind of anti-natalist, I've
Yep.
heard you
Yep.
say.
No, I am.
At what point do you have to are you going to realize that the most important parenting decision you could make would be limiting how many children you have?
Right.
Because
Even if you're going to have one, make sure you take care of that one first.
right, the more children you have, that divides you even further
Hmm.
between all of your children. So, and you kind of mentioned how something about that character and empathy,
Yeah.
her bearing so many children
Right.
can almost be seen like her taking on, and empathetic people also take on other people's, subconsciously other people's, troubles,
Yes.
issues, what have you. So her having all of these children with different men could be like each child represents her taking on the troubles of whatever man that fathered that child.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So she's yeah, yeah. So and you that's your unconscious. You're doing that, and if you're like Carl Jung, collective unconscious, you're repeating these archetypes that your ancestors have literally either genetically or spiritually left you with. And so you're you're like being the great mother, the person who births all people in society, but since you're overdoing it and since you're so, you're carrying out that motherly so much, right? The motherly loving thing so much, like you're saying, it could be detrimental because, like Katie said, if you're going to do, or, be very, you know, be very cautious about, the next child you have, if you have one already, because, you want to be the best parent for that child at least. And if that's this is where it comes down to, like I was saying before, like you need to know where your limits are and how selfless you're going to be. Like you're saying, if you're going to take on society's problems, right, even subconsciously, unconsciously, or we do this, and like Katie's saying, and we do this within our lives, with outside of pregnancy as well. And we it's to me, I've seen that people will more change when it's their time to change, and they won't do it in conversation. They'll do it in private, and maybe a lot of the times, you don't, a person doesn't also want to change, right? If you're telling them something, right, their ego might protect them from you being right. And Yeah, the last thing I want to say on that is sometimes we get like, we're going to stop the societal problem, but then we're not caring about the people who we have the most influence on, which are our family, are our closest friends, and would be our children, right? But if that family grows so much to many children, or the children of everyone, like we're kind of saying, right, the society's children, we're inheriting their guilt and not their guilt, their trauma, right? Then which is what MG's trying to do, or which MG does without realizing, or is doing, and can't do it, but fights that she can't. That is a that's something that is a waste of time, basically, and it can be counterproductive, especially when every moment that you're not helping, or sorry, every moment you're wasting trying to help someone who's out of your basically ability to help, you're not helping the people who are in your inner circle, right? And this is also another thing, right? If if you're so, sometimes we're so focused on conquering the society, right? Like MG, right? So it might not even be coming out of an empathy way. I want to change society, help society for because I feel bad empathetically. It might be because, well, that's where I'm going to get notoriety. And I don't care about my family. I don't care about helping my family because, well, they're going to love me either way, or they never love me. We can make excuses, stuff like that, or that's not where I'm going to find my mate. That's not where I'm going to find my career. It doesn't help me in any way. But, if you want to really be a, helper in society, Sam Hyde, one of my favorite people, he said, you start with your community, the ones you have the most sway over. And here's the last thing. Don't throw, so love thy neighbor. Sometimes you have to love from a distance, though. Okay. This is speaking to the empaths. And the last thing, this is quote by Jesus, the one I just said, love thy neighbor, or whatever it was, the golden rule. But also, here's another quote by Jesus. He said, um, don't throw pearls to swine. So love thy neighbor, but don't throw pearls to swine. So you can, um, like it goes back to if you're throwing pearls to swine, if you're wasting time trying to save society, but society ain't respecting it, they're not appreciating the pearls you're throwing, right? Well, you're wasting your time. You're actually and the time that you're wasting the time that you could be helping people who actually listen to what you're saying. Don't forget the people who know you the best, they're the people who know how good of a person you are. If you've been a good person around them. So they're going to believe what you say, right? You have rapport with them. But when it comes to a person who is um, you know, um no one to you, there's just a person in society, they might just be like, hey, he's everything he's saying, he doesn't even believe it. He's just trying to sell a book. He's just trying to get one over on me. And hey, you know, that is a hard challenge, but like I said,
That's basically Chris Evans' character in the movie.
it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do want to throw in something, my 2 cents, because Mike and I, we have, in the grand scheme of things, we have a very similar worldview, but we also have, we're like two different sides of the same coin, as I always say, because like there's, and like I said, in the big picture, we see things in a very similar way, but then in certain things, and this will connect back to the movie. Um, but then there's funny thing, like some of the deepest things we have very different views on. Like for example, the antinatalist thing. I would consider myself more of a pro-natalist, but I get, as with most of the things we disagree on, I don't disagree with what you guys are saying. I think for most people, they should not have kids, but the goal would be to become someone, and this connects back to the Sam Hyde thing with the community. Like the goal is to become someone who should have kids, and by doing that, like the goal should be to work on yourself to become your best self, which obviously what who knows what that means. That's different for everyone. And
Mhm.
then find your best mate or your best partner. Doesn't have to be a mate. And you may or may not want to have kids with them, but then so it's like yourself, your partner, your family, and then your community. So like it doesn't have to go in that order, because you can also serve your community and you'll become a better person, and then you'll probably find your partner in that community. Like it all works together.
I think I understand what you're saying because by improving yourself, you will be serving your community.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. And the kids, that's why I would consider myself a pro-natalist, is if you are a person, I know this might even sound really this the way I'm about to say this will sound dark, maybe. Like if you're someone who's worthy of having kids, you should probably have a lot of kids, because you would be a good parent. And I don't know how many a lot. I don't know. That might be a different story. I don't know if
That's where it gets a little tricky
right,
because because uh one of the most notable pronatalists is Elon Musk. And
right,
he's also your classic absent father. Like he does provide for his children because he's one of the richest men on earth.
Right.
But if
But
you
he's
ask his
only
grown
concerned about
children,
society.
right, but it also if you ask his grown children, he was like never personally involved in their lives.
Right.
right.
Yes, he might have provided for them by funding their, buying whatever they need with all of his money, but that's only one part of parenting. And you
Yeah.
know, he was never an actual dad, at least
Right.
from, what they say. We
Yeah,
don't know. We're not there.
100%.
I agree with you.
Only
Yeah,
going off of that's only going off of what his some of his kids have said.
Right.
right. He's not the prime example, because yeah, he might be the opposite of what I described, where like I don't know, because he's smart or whatever. He has a lot of knowledge, but
I only brought
spiritual,
up him because he considers himself a pronatalist.
right.
That's the
I
only
w-
reason I brought him up.
right. I don't know if I would I don't know if I would consider myself pro-natalist, but I would consider myself if
It depends how you
pro
define it.
Mhm.
pro people. That's what I always say. I'm like pro people. Um, so like if
I
you're,
like
I
that.
want people to be um their best, the best that they can be, or just try to improve. And so how this connects back to the movie is I totally forgot, but Mike's review or Mike's notes really were were crazy to me, like in a good way, like amazing. Like and we'll probably finish those up. But that's what this is all about, this movie, is she's becoming her best self, but in a more in a better way of putting it is she's incorporating her unconscious, as Mike puts it. But um so yeah, like that's something that I don't know if that's even most people aren't going to do that before they have kids. So um like she yeah, um I'll let you go
People
on because
people have said everything happens out of the unconscious, which um, even once you integrate your shadow or integrate your unconscious, it's something that is still it's not it's you're aware of it, but it can still be a thing you continually work on, becoming or staying aware of. And so, but yeah, sometimes, you could have had children out of the unconscious, and things they say everything comes out of the immaterial or the spiritual. And so I think honestly, that's why I'm first of all, I don't have control over anyone else, so why does it matter? I'm going to say what I want to say, and try to help people, think about their life choices before they have them. But it's out of my hands, and once you have it, then treat it like the greatest fortune in the world, because you know it is, your experience is going to it's going to teach you so much having a child. But the the couple of things I want to say. The Katie or Trevor, I think it was Katie, said when you help your self, you're helping your society, you're helping your community, right? Because you're now a better person in that community that's going to be interacted with. But and maybe that you have to offer to that community. But then it's also you become a um, you become oh yeah, you make your small knit group of people that you have, like I said, influence over better, then you make your society better. So you're not it's in the Fantastic Four movie. It's not one man who made society better. It was small groups of people. So smart it starts with the the small scale. And then the last thing is on my Instagram I have, instead of pro-life or pro-choice, there's one of the hashtags that I had in one of the pictures, and it's pro-life choice. And that was a very abstract thing that I put in, and I knew it had some symbolic meaning, that it can be interpreted many ways, and it was very, you know, I didn't think about it deeply, but you know, I'm I'm I like to be in the middle of things because I know that things are so gray, and so me choosing one side um, can alienate the other side, and all I want is to build a bridge between that other side. So I try to stay in the middle of things, not where I don't like make any sort of decisions, but that I don't that I don't alienate myself or alienate others in my mind, so I could still understand both sides, keeping my mind open. But pro-life choice might mean, you know if you're going to make that choice, this is a life choice. This is like This is marrying someone. This is having children with someone. Or yeah, these are big choices. So I'm pro you making a choice that you knew was a life choice, not a choice that you just made on a whim. Like, hey, this person's attractive. Let's have kids. Sometimes I ask people, why did you have kids, or why do you want kids? And they'll go, well, I always wanted kids. And it's like, hold on, wait, that doesn't answer anything. Like, and sometimes I'm thinking, like, did you want kids because you thought of a good name? No,
Right.
and I know it's never that, but I think it's more the unconscious thing where it's like, um, and the spiritual thing. It's like we're not perfect yet. No one's perfect yet, so we need to keep evolving. We need the nature the 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 everything that is, and that everything that is humans needs to keep going. So we didn't get it right this generation. It needs to keep going. And I think it does get better every generation, although small and it's hard to see. And people will always talk about it the opposite way. But I think that yeah, if you oh yeah, well yeah, if you're having no, basically yeah, just think about it before you have kids.
I would also go as far as to say, this is also my personal take, but I would just throw this out there that I would say even having a relationship with someone, let alone having kids, like
Mhm,
that's the whole point of um a relationship with someone. It's not the whole point is to have kids, but the whole point, like, make sure that the person you're hooking up with or having a long-term relationship with is someone that um yeah, not necessarily that you want to have kids with, but yeah, don't just do that even willy-nilly. Definitely don't have kids willy-nilly, but like that's how you can ensure that if you do decide that you want to have kids, like that's a good way to ensure that you're doing it right is with the right person as well. Now, this is like the most spiritual or podcast we've had so far. Like normally we just talk about the movie and the symbolism, but
yeah.
like um
There's a
we're
lot of
actually
aspects to this movie that has us thinking about a lot of things.
yeah,
That's the sign of a great movie, I think.
yeah,
Ma- But yes, be committed and embrace is something that big, and really embrace your life, if you're in a situation, you should embrace it. Even if you're going to want to try to get out of that situation in the moment, you should at least embrace it. And, the only way out is through, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, make sure you pick a committed person when you pick a spouse and a partner and a mate. But let's go on. So, all right. So when the cat goes under the bed, um, she this so let's put the scene in everyone's mind because cat going under the bed, maybe you guys don't remember, but to me it stuck out immensely. When the cat goes under the bed, in the scene where in the beginning of the film, Honey is investigating the death of um, the young lady who drove off of the road. Um, she goes into that woman's room and she looks underneath the bed only after seeing the cat go underneath the bed, right? And this is like the cat. She could have just been looking under the bed because the cat reminded her, oh, there's stuff under the bed. People hide stuff under the bed. I should look under there. But at the same time, I take everything into the deepest level possible, in the most imaginative way. You know, the cat could be a representation of, well, it could first of all be a sign, like I should go under the bed, right? Maybe she works like this in her mind. We never know. There's no sign really that she's a spiritual person in the movie, but that's the thing I thought of. But also representative of Honey being a intuitive person, right? So she is conducting, like, well, the cat knows what way to go to solve the mystery, right? Just like you, all your compassion is your compass, right? And you'll never get lost if you follow your compassion. Of course, you need to have compassion for yourself too when having compassion for others. But that's what like I said, always try to do what's the right thing for the most people, and you'll never be going in the wrong direction. It's just hard to enact that thing.
I remember you mentioning when we were watching the movie too, and when that scene came up, that cats are often associated with femininity.
Feminine, feline. Feminine, feline. That's a to me that's something. I don't know how it came to be, but to me it's very important. And independence, right? Cats are, you can't tame a cat, just like the leopard, right? And people will say she's a biatch, like she's not doing what I want her to do. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, so she's not allowed to do what she wants to do. She has to do what you want to do. So you you know like I sorry, but yeah, that gets into the intuition thing. Like if she feels like, and this goes for anyone who has the nice feminine quality of intuition, if you are following yourself, sometimes you're not going to follow others because they go against what your heart's saying, telling you to do. Now, really quick, because I don't know if I'll ever get another chance to bring this up, but intuition thing and a sign thing that I follow in my life is since I was a child, I would hear the creaking of my house, the knocking, your house breathing, your house settling. I would hear that. And when I was a child, I laid by the bed and I knocked on the wall, a couple times I remember. One specifically, I remember I knocked on the wall and I could have sworn I heard the same knock back. Okay. Now,
Which house was this?
this is the how this is the 2000 since 2004. So
When
it's
you
the
and
course.
Steve had the bunk bed?
No.
No? Okay.
No, Steven was in the other room. So I heard it there, and then that's the first evolution of like me interacting with possible spirit type thing. Second time is I would hear that creaking, or I would hear the settling and the knocking, and this was around like middle school, high school, actually more high school, college, and I would be like, in the morning I would hear it, and I'd be like, oh, they're telling me to wake up, be a productive member of society. Like you need to get out of your bed, right? And you have guardian angels, so get out of bed knowing that, and that you do have a purpose. You're not just in a completely pointless world where there is no spirit, there is no blah blah blah. So it excited me to get out of bed. Now the third version is um, I'll, which is what it is now, still is to this day. I'll be having a intuitive thought and it just pops into my brain, it feels like that. And then I'll hear a knock and I'll be like, that was the confirmation that what I was thinking was true or was a good thing to think. And I've even had it where I'm telling people of how I think about this, and then I'll hear it and I'll be like, hey, do you hear that? This is what we're talking about. This is what I'm talking about. And so it's not that, to me now, I think that it's not, I don't know if I just heard it or it was my chair moving, but it's not that the house is alive, right? But it's the house is a part of me. Like everything is a part of the spirit. It's part of the source, part of God, and it wants to help itself. Although it doesn't usually, oftentimes in this world, it doesn't seem like it wants to. And we could get into how karma doesn't seem to be fair. Sometimes when bad things happen to good people and vice versa. But there is a uh there is, yeah, that was gonna say something good there, but yeah, it's spirit and it's material. So since it's a part of me, it's wanting to guide me on the right path. And this is where I think that the goal of everything is to get better and to have that unity with itself, right? Cause and this is what the golden rule this is what is accomplished by the golden rule. If I treat you like you're myself, right? How I would want to be treated, then we're going to do the best for both of us, right? And so, if I respect this house, if I respect this person like I would want to be respected, then it's going to do the best that it possibly can. And so we should, I think that the way karma works is that eventually karma it corrects the progress forward, right? By having a big lesson taught out of a horrible thing, right? But if we were to just all be aligned, but since people have choice, they're not like animals and they're not always evolving at the most efficient pace, right? But humans have the choice, so they slow it down, right? Because they go like this towards unity instead of just going straight to the path of unity because they don't understand how they all are sacred spiritual beings and they all share the sacred origin of that they come from this spiritual place that unites us all. So, anyways, when you're when we what we could do is instead of having karma always correct, and it takes so long, if we all did respect every living being, and that's why I am a huge proponent of veganism, have been for 6 years. If we respected all things, you know, like we respect ourselves, or we should respect ourselves, we would cut straight to the evolution and the unity I'm talking about. But anyways, because we are a part of God, as much as you could put it in God's hands, the person, or sorry, the part of God that I put it in, when I say, or when instead of praying, um, which that could help for many different reasons, but um, maybe just at least by intentions or setting good intentions, who knows exactly how it helps. But um, when when I ask God for help, I know that I'm gonna have to have the most faith in myself and the most because I have the most control over myself. And since I'm a godly being, I'm going to, part of God, right? The greatest chance I have of getting what I want and pray for is by working through this part of God that I'm actually in control of, right? And but anyways, wow, didn't know we were gonna go all the way there, but um hey there. Now this is why we make the podcast because I want this to be here forever and I want everyone to be able to one day see this, whoever, it gets to, and hopefully it meant something to them. So
We can leave it at leave that at
yeah,
that. I would respond, but I think we'll keep it going here
yes.
because
I know.
we had a very similar conversation and it got just as deep on the. I have my own take on that, but
Mhm.
we'll keep it rolling.
Thank you, Trevor. Yeah, we're at 143. We'll have
We'll
we
talk
should
about it another movie
yeah.
another time.
Doesn't even need to be another movie. Super Spectrum doesn't need to just be movies. But yeah, whenever we want, like maybe we could have notes about that because I know what I just did was super could have been done more efficiently. But
No, I
anyways,
mean I think that
I
for
thought it was
viewer,
beautiful. Thank you.
thank you.
yes,
Love you
that
both.
was very important and yeah, that's what the podcast is all about. And we haven't even really gone there before. Like, we
Hmm.
have a little
Yeah,
bit with
that's
your symbolic breakdowns of things, but we never really fully got there. Just with, I mean, the movies we talked about and so on. Like, so I'm glad that
I mean, to me, this is the whole purpose of art. Movies are a form of art, and art is to serve the betterment of ourselves and self-actualization, spirituality, all of this. So to me, it's all relevant.
oh yeah.
Art, heart,
Hmm.
love. And yeah, like I said in the Superman review, the greatest art is loving and takes risks for that love. So yeah, that's. So let's see what else we got. So all right, so well, I might talk about it later, but Honey's name is also kind of a pet's name because I think that might be a more. I know we have Honey in our family,
Hmm.
but I don't know if it's that common of an adult name. But pets are more often called Honey, I think. But
Isn't one of Grandpa's
that's what
daughters
that's
named
what I
Honey?
meant. That's
Yes.
what I meant.
I thought you were talking about your
Fam.
dog.
I know that I know. I
At
didn't know how
first.
to address that, but yes,
Yeah.
I knew
There's two
I
honeys
knew
in our
you knew
family.
yes,
A human and a dog.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have our grandpa is our step grandpa, but he's really
Yeah.
our grandpa because that was the grandpa that was in our lives, and the grandpa we shared, and that was his daughter's name is
So we
Honey.
have like step aunts kind of
Step aunts, yeah, okay, yeah,
that were
that's
his
so funny.
children before he married our grandmother.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And one of their names is Honey. And I always thought that was like, I was like, and the other one of their other one's names is April. And it's like, these are like some progressive names
The
back
other
then.
one is
Like,
Faith. There's three
yes,
daughters.
they're
They
all
all
like
have
super cool
very
names.
unique
Yeah,
names.
unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like not just like normal names.
Hmm.
Um, yes, like super
I love a
interesting.
good word name.
Yeah.
A name that's a
Yeah.
word.
Yeah, truth,
Yeah.
you know.
I love humans with interesting names, like word names, like you were just saying, and animals with human names.
Right.
Right.
Those are like
Yeah.
my two favorite things.
I met a dog named Winston. And I was like, oh yeah,
Love it.
can't get better than that. Yeah, like he is like that's another dude. I love him.
But I think Grandpa's daughter, she's the only human honey that I know.
Yeah, I don't think it's common, and I don't know if we would have thought it was a possibility. Maybe if we didn't hear that,
Yeah.
maybe I mean we knew it would be a possibility, but we would be even like more like, do people name people like that?
Right.
But at the same time, great name. I love that name.
Yeah. But honey's typically a pet name,
Right.
someone either you call lovingly, typically between spouses,
Hmm.
or condescendingly, like, oh, honey,
Right.
you know?
Right.
Right.
And so but pets, her being a pet name is going on that more animal like pure like in nature, in God's plan, uncorrupted or off the beaten path, when it comes to going to
Did we lose her?
yeah, we'll send him back. But when it comes to, get into the getting to the bottom of the situation. Oh, he already texted, I think. No, he didn't. What's that say? Thank goodness it's nothing to do with StreamYard. Okay, we'll send him another. Oh no, his phone must have died. So
Could we pause the recording maybe until he gets back?
we could, but I don't even want to risk that. But
Okay.
we won't go on anything that's like super deep so that we won't have to re-explain it.
Okay.
So
We'll just take a little.
oh, here he's back.
He's
Awesome.
back with us.
Right. I didn't know. No, that was.
What happened? Your phone died?
Yeah.
So now
Can
you're
you
on
hear
the iPad? Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Camera's still good.
We might need to plug in your iPad too.
No, it's.
Oh wow, it's on 15%.
Oh, your iPad. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go
Do you have
get
a charger?
my charger's super short, but where's the closest outlet? Or do you have a
There's an outlet right here.
okay. Is this an extension cable?
Yeah, we could use that.
Yeah.
Here, I'll grab it. I'll be right back.
Thank you for looking for that.
I have stuff plugged into it, but we can plug back in. There you go.
And I do not have the USB-C charger. Do you have one?
We don't need it. This has everything. USB, USB-C.
No, I don't have the cable.
Oh, Kevin has one.
Okay.
I was stuck asking for it. I thought you were going to that.
Thank you.
Is it USB-C or Lightning?
See,
C.
please.
Oh wait, I have one.
Hmm.
I have one right here.
Thank you.
I'm not the best host when it's just me on camera, so
Here we go, bud.
we'll just wait during technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties.
All right.
Okay, we should be good now.
Going on to Honey in the Name. Honey Don't. Why did they call it that? So remember in the film there's the let sleeping dogs sleep, right? And that goes into the yielding to, yielding to society and the things you don't have control over. So Honey Don't is like could be said, which I thought of by either Honey to the French woman, where it's like, and I'll just go to it now. But since we're on that topic, we might as well cross this bridge now. You gonna say something about?
Yeah, I was
Go
going to
ahead.
say just briefly,
Mhm.
in terms of honey as the actual thing, the substance
Yeah.
honey, it's like one of the most purest things on the planet. It never goes bad.
Right.
It's made naturally by animals,
Right.
you know.
I have that written here somewhere that she's healthily indulgent, right? Honey it's a healthy thing, but it's also indulgent. It's very sweet.
Yep.
So, honey don't, honey don't like as in honey don't bother like, honey don't. This can be said to both honeys, to both honeys, the main character and the French woman. It can be said to the main character about her investigation, and to the French woman about her work. It has an endearing aspect inherent in it with the honey, as this isn't just a name, but also a way of referring to someone in an endearing way. So this works as a way that Honey doesn't really care by the end about what the French woman would do, but she might have not wanted her to do what she's doing in the beginning. So it's like, Honey, don't bother about your investigation. And let sleeping dogs sleep seems to be the moral of the story, like I said before. But that doesn't exactly jive with like the keeping your like integrating your unconscious, but at the same time actually what you so not what you're supposed to do, but you become aware of your unconscious, and then I'm going to butcher it, but I'm reading a good book called An Introduction to Joseph Campbell, but it's like you become aware of your unconscious, then you well here let me put it in the way terms of society because it's very fractal. First you um first you become an authority within society, and then you yield to society. So first you become aware of your unconscious, right? Right? You're the authority in society. Then you um then you yield to society, and then what that would be with your unconscious is you I think you kind of you you don't go back to being unconscious, but you become okay with the unconscious, which is kind of what happens in this movie. And this is more of an Eastern thing, that you you seek unity with everything. Um, but and like I said, everything, it comes out of the unconscious. But I'm not exactly sure. But hopefully, when we get to it, we'll go over it again. But in a better way. But so we've talked about Honey's sister. Um, so, but what really, it's one sentence. I mean, might as well read it just in case. It says, "Honey's sis." It What I said was, "Honey's sister is an out of balance feminine because she's too free with how many kids she has and too liberal with their discipline. The pastor's women he has sex affairs with are also imbalanced. They follow, right? So women are the more supportive role in society usually, and the more, they're not the leader archetype as much. And so they tend to be, more in the follower. But that's where the pastor's women are just becoming mindless followers, so an imbalanced feminine.
Support. I
Uh,
like the word supportive because I could still see some people not liking that word, but I think that's a good word. Like it's better than follower, and it is yeah, like it's an active role. It's I've never really thought of it like that. Supportive. It is a good
That's I learned that through
role.
the tarot cards.
Mm.
That's what they always call the queen. She's the supportive character or archetype, and the king is the leader. And was something I figured out, which I'm sure has been figured out before, and I might have said it in another podcast. I know we touched on my knowledge of the tarot and the supportive stuff, but the queen, her keywords in her element, right? Say we're doing fire, which fire is power, passion, energy, creativity, anything to do with um, like determination, growth, things that require energy, um, leadership,
Change.
change, exactly. Um, that is the um, that's the king. That would be the king. So if you mastered that, you would be the king of wands. But if you were the queen, you would be anything or you would have the ability that supports all those things. So what supports a good leader? Confidence. Okay. So the queen's keyword, queen of wands, is confidence. Going to swords, swords is all about mental intelligence, discernment, communication, memory, anything to do with the conscious mind, logic, reasoning, and um, what do you need for that to be good? What do you need? What's the supportive keyword for that? It is fair. So to be a good decision maker, right? And logic, the person with logic, you have to be fair. You have to be unbiased and open to hearing out other people, keeping yourself fair perspective. And so that is just we'll throw it in there for any tarot lovers. And let's see. So the church is selling drugs. Make of that what you will. It's a anything you're going to put your faith into, make sure that they're, doing it with good intentions. The church, some churches have been, more, self-centered and, selling these drugs
Hmm.
than
Well, also there's I don't know whose quote this is, but there's religion is I think it was Karl Marx, who I do not, I'm not the biggest fan, but
it's the
um,
opium of the masses.
opium of the religion is the opium of the masses.
And that
I
goes
don't.
into the
I mean, although I don't agree with uh, the whole shebang of it all, that
Mm,
is probably true too. Like I am a religious person, a spiritual person as well, but
mhm,
that is true. Like most people are using religion to just feel better
mm,
about their
yeah.
life.
Hmm.
Um,
And so I said the church is selling drugs, and then next note is Reverend sedates the people, telling them to submit, right? Like putting them in a trance. He's always talking about submission. Even if he's not, he does tell them to submit, but he'll be like, I submit to God, and everyone, blah, 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 submit, submit, submit. You say it enough times, just like when you flash the little things on the screen to market something well, the subliminal messaging, you're going to So you're going to be hypnotized almost. And so he speaks in a Southern accent only when talking to the church as part of his hypnosis as well. And so these are just things we have to worry about. I think church has a place in society, and that's why it's been around for so long, and that's why it's been so successful. We might disagree on, everything about it, but I think in a lot of ways, and a lot of times, it's just, been very positive. But anyways, it's not just church you have to be careful. We have to be careful of scientists. We have to be careful of leaders, political leaders, and we have to be careful of the quote unquote experts, right? Because if you're giving someone that much authority, you're giving someone that much trust, right? You have to make sure that you're not in a trance, that you're not just believing everything they say. Because what's the sign of a cult? You getting mad about someone saying something bad about your cult leader, right? Because they're going against what the cult leader has told you is true, right? Anyone who's coming at you, this is the truth. No, most of the time, everything is a half truth, right? And everything I say is also half truth because you don't, even though it might sound super deep and blah blah blah, to even make any of this stuff matter is, the other half of it where you're in the real world. Good luck with this idealistic romantic stuff Michael talks about. But, there's the half truth of what I'm saying. I think that, that if you were to actually incorporate it and make it happen, it would work, right? But don't forget, take everything with a grain of salt. Going off of, going with, a different example though, the half truth might be, more that what they're actually telling you or what they're selling you is not a truth to begin with. So just take everything with a grain of salt. One of my college professors, who I believe was a great, upstanding man, who I actually thought was not telling you exactly how he felt, which I think there's a importance to this because sometimes we learn the best through a bad mistake or we learn the best through figuring out something ourselves. And meanwhile, they're setting you up to figure that out. But he said that I only believe half of what I say, or I only believe half of what I hear. I don't believe anything that I hear, and I only believe half of what I see. So meanwhile, it's usually I could only believe it if I see it. But he's telling you, no, no, no. Even if you see it, that's only believe half of that because that's how serious this is. People are going around thinking that, he's going to tell me the truth. But you got to be careful with that because you're giving that person way too much power. You have to be very careful about where you're putting all of that energy and that trust into. Anyways, that's the spiel on that. Once again, going way out of the lines of a review, but here we are, 2 hours. I think the people are going to get that it's not really a review.
Yeah. I was
So
just thinking that.
It's in the spirit of a review.
it's in the spirit of a review, a life review. This is what you before you die, this flashes in your head. Okay. So um so this goes into maybe for God sent his son into the world not to judge it, right? Like I said, you know, sometimes, I don't judge a person maybe if they're not telling the full truth because maybe it might be best for a person not to hear the whole truth. Maybe it might be best for them to figure it out themselves, and maybe the person won't even listen to you if you don't if you're telling them the full truth because the full truth is sometimes scary, right? What's that quote? You can't handle the truth. Okay. And I've heard people say this is why Paul's version of Christianity took off because only that version of Christianity was palatable to the masses, right? Christianity, like Jesus was teaching, was radicalism, talking about no more sacrifices. That's just that is going
That all
completely
people are equal, like
that our people are equal. Oh my God, 2,000 years ago? No, yeah, no.
This
Good luck with that.
also this modern version of an all-loving, all-forgiving God
Right.
in the Christian canon is relatively new. God used to be a terrifying, strict father figure who everyone
Right.
was scared of.
Right.
And I,
If you
The
see,
scare some and that's another thing. Sometimes people need to be scared into doing what's right. They've done studies
right,
on children where if they don't believe there's a heaven or a hell thing, right? If they're told they're I think it's something like this, and then if they're told hell's real, then they all start doing the right thing, right? So sometimes
I,
it's a really potent medicine,
there's probably some scientific studies about like reward versus punishment
right? Yes.
um,
as
Pavlov. I
incentives.
think that's the Pavlov thing. But I
Hmm.
was gonna ask, is that a biblical quote? God sent His Son not to judge, because
Yes. It's from the
that's
Bible, and it's in this movie. Sorry, that's why I brought it up.
Hmm.
It's in this.
It's at
It
the very
flashes
beginning.
on the screen, and it
mm,
might be in it again. But that's what this movie, like I said, don't wake sleeping dogs, right? And I'll try to hit on it, but um, I already
well,
have been the whole time. The French woman who is the secular thing controlling the church, right?
mhm.
Which, if MG would have heard about that, boy, oh boy, she probably would have been, getting all worked up because whoa,
Yeah,
hold on, the church was bad enough. Now we hear a person who's controlling the church, like, oh, I really hate them.
atheist
So
foreigners.
whatever, yeah, 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 exactly. Even more right, because she is spiritual in the thing, or at least she claims to be. But yeah, so those people, right? She ends up what's the main character, Honey, she ends up being like on their side and sleeping with them because and becoming one with them, right? Because remember her name, the French woman's name ends up being Honey, right? She becomes one with
All
them,
right.
right? And being on their side because she sees that I guess if people are going to um well, first of all, you can't like MG wants to do, force people to believe what you believe, right? For all the reason you could look at all the reasons I was talking about in this video, right? I'm not going to go into it too much because I don't want to butcher it again, right? But or I don't want to butcher it this time. But yeah, you know, going against a person's ego is the first thing, right? If you try to tell someone that they're wrong about something, good luck. So that's why the Bible says don't throw pearls to swine. That's a huge thing, and that's kind of this in the same vein of the Bible quote we were just bringing up, and the let sleeping dogs sleep. And what Honey ends up doing when she instead of like going and um trying to save the church and the minister and like the getting to the bottom of even though she doesn't know what the French woman's exactly doing, what her part is and what her part is in running the church, metaphorically, she's not getting to the bottom of all of that. And that is the part where I was talking about you yield to the society, you yield to the things that are out of your control because there are things that are out of your control, even if you don't like it or not. And you can be, you know, um, too selfless sometimes when you're trying to wake sleeping dogs, because it's a waste of your time and maybe that's not the way things are supposed to be, or they're not, and at least at this time, I'm an optimist. I think at the end of the day, and sorry, the end of time, it says it in the Bible too, um, the in I think Isaiah or Elijah, I can't remember whichever one is actually a book in the Bible, because I know there's one apocryphal text from one of those names, but he says that, all things, including the leopard and including the child, they will sleep together, without worry of being eaten or being hurt, right? And that's how I believe the end times will actually be, that's my prophecy or my vision of what the end will be. That's more of a symbolic way that he brings it up, right? There probably won't really be a leopard and a child sleeping together, but there won't be anything, there won't be war, there won't be, I believe it'll be vegan. I've even envisioned, hey, leopards in the nature, they do whatever they want, but our pets, we've at least, you know, because the animals in nature, they're not going against the Earth's environment, right? But if you have pets, and we all have pets, and we're just keep breeding pets, that's going to especially when those pets need, or they don't need, but most of them are given meat, right? That's going against other animals. But if I believe in the end of time, or not in the end of time, but when the end of time is a metaphor too, but the end of the end of the Kali Yuga, or the end of the dark times, and the beginning of the full unity times, there will be everyone vegan, including their pets. There will be synthesized. It'll be like the Soylent Green thing. It'll all be synthesized, and it'll be fine. Go on my Instagram story. I'm the Pure Pill Bare Truth. You could find. You go to the story under the highlight under what's it called? It was under Rorschach, and there is a woman, vegan woman, who's saying, if I were to have pets, I would make sure that they were supplemented with these two chemicals, I think it was a cat, and she said make sure it has taurine, the supplement, and make sure it has this, and so there are already vegan meals for animals, for your pets. So you could start that now if you'd like. But let's see what else. So um, all right. So glad we're getting through this though, guys. We don't have too much more. It's 2 hours, 10 minutes. Um, Here, I'll just read it because we're already here. It's already long enough. So let me just read it. I might have already said all this before, but all right. So it says, for what I said is, for God sent not his son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. All right. Um, this is like how Honey doesn't judge the French lady at the end. The movie is more about judging or processing yourself rather than others. She technically could have gone further with getting justice for the woman in the beginning. So this I wrote this part when I thought that justice for the woman would have meant figuring out who killed her. That's when I didn't know MG was the killer, right? Because the movie is so like she's now a killer. I don't know that I didn't even know. I was like, I didn't understand anything in the end. So it's okay, but um that might be your situation too. But basically, she it goes back to what I was just saying, like instead of getting justice for the woman, just the woman, it's more of getting justice for kind of Chris Evans. Like I said, if we're going to be straight by the law, Chris Evans's murder should be brought in, but she's not the law. She's outside of the law. She's private investigation, very symbolic, and reason why she is that type person. But it's also getting justice. It would also have been getting justice for the church members, right? Like, like I said, she's not even onto this, but if she would have gone deeper, maybe she would have found that the French woman and her people are running the church. And, like MG might have wanted, or, there might have been like a want to stop that crime or whatever, that is. But anyways, like I said, it's not about judging them as much as it is judging yourself. And this is what I think is more important, really, because so many people go around judging others, but meanwhile, they don't even know what they're doing is wrong, right? They're unconscious of their own shortcomings. And this is like the quote from Plato. It goes, an intelligent man knows others. A wise man knows himself, right? So, let's see. I'll just read it real quick. If you guys want to say something while I'm reading it, just to make sure I should be reading it, because now that I see it was when I wrote it originally, it's not going to make sense, but
I could say something,
please.
if that's okay with you, Trevor. To me, introspection is very important, and I agree with everything you said, Mike. I think that's why I love tarot so much, because it is about introspection. that's one of the main things about it. It helps you look within yourself for answers. And I think knowing yourself is a major key to success or achieving what you want to in life. I could get more into that, but I just
Right.
think introspection and knowing yourself is really important and undervalued in modern society.
Right. Most it's like, what do other people think about me? You don't even think
Mhm.
about what do I think about me?
Right. It's all, what do other people think about me? What do I think about other people?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
And a lot of people aren't even, not that this is sometimes at no fault. I mean, yeah, you can always make time, but just in a lot of ways, people don't even think about anything. They don't think about others, let alone themselves. So like,
That's true.
just because they're working and they're just running around from place to place doing thing to thing, but everyone should, yeah, set it aside. Or you can always, yeah, I guess at any point you can start thinking about your like what's going on inside.
Hmm. And everybody wants, I feel like everyone tries to or wants to have a plan for them, for their life, like where they want, like a goal where they want to end up or whatever. And I think knowing yourself is a huge part of that, because
right.
you have to realistically know within yourself if you're capable of achieving it, or if you're able to make yourself capable of achieving it.
Being
Or if
realistic is
that's
a
even,
huge thing people worry, which
Yes.
don't take into consideration, and that's, you get that through introspection.
Hmm.
And we're often told you could do whatever you want, but we need to still be realistic, and that's another half truth,
We're a generation of people who were raised saying, you can be president one day, you can be an astronaut,
The
you can be,
question is, do you want to be the
you can
president?
win the right. uh
that's what I was about to say is also not only can you, but is that actually what you want to do?
Mhm.
but you also have to consider, if me as a person, am I capable of this? You know, someone who, I'm just using myself as an example, but I'm someone who has stage fright, who is not the best communicator. I don't think I'd make a good president.
Right.
I'm very indecisive also. So I think you have to know what you're capable of achieving and recognizing your weaknesses, but and strengths as well.
Right.
I think will that's one of the best ways to get where you should go, I think, as a person. At least that's my take on it.
100%. 100%. That's the problem with society. They go into things blind.
Hmm.
It's the biggest
There
problem.
is there
They
is
don't think of-
also a balance. Some other people might have the opposite problem of um, they are able to achieve much more than they give themselves credit for. So there's a balance there
Good point.
too.
Right.
But
It, it's
most
easy
people,
to say I'm not going to be able to do this.
Right. And I don't mean to say that like many people are overachievers or think they're capable of much more than they actually are. I think anyone can be capable of anything, but you have to look within yourself whether it's something you want and something you have to have a strong enough want to be able to
Right.
make yourself into
Right.
someone who's capable of it.
Effort.
Yeah.
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 yeah, because that is something a lot of people, what you were saying initially is something that a lot of people need to hear, or that I'd never, I mean, I'm sure I heard it, but I didn't want to believe it either. I was always like, oh, I will do all these crazy things. And some of them are just too crazy. And I realized those are not things I want to do, let
Mhm.
alone could I do. Like some of them, like,
Right.
I don't know, like
And
something
if
like
your
being an
drive,
astronaut.
or what you want to achieve, if your goal is important enough to you, like again, as an example, if I truly wanted to be president, making myself a good speaker, a good communicator, a good leader, someone who can decisively make decisions, those are things that you can work on.
Right. Like, I'm sorry, I'm literally thinking of this. This is the Honey Don't review.
Yeah.
How
Oh,
long
dude,
have we been talking?
that's so
Sorry,
I
funny
love it.
taking,
No,
because
I'm so
taking it
happy.
off track
No,
a bit.
no, I love it so much. Like whoever said this is what the podcast is for.
Mhm.
And this the funny thing as well is um and I want to eventually get this out there, but I think it's a joke when I am typing Honey Don't review. This is, like it's there's a review, but it's the smallest part of the freaking
Yeah.
thing. So I did that intentionally. I
well,
know
that
that's never good. That hopefully people get to this point in the review and they're able to see that. But
Mhm.
you know, if not, they're gonna be like, "Wow, this guy is on Mars." What the heck?
no, I thought that I told you someone said something about well, I don't know which one. I think it was the first one we did. They're like, "Wow, an hour on Jurassic World."
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah. Well, check
um,
it out. Check it out. You should
yeah,
check
let
it
me.
out. Then.
Um, yeah, that one we did like maybe an hour, if or I think we did 30 minutes on the actual movie, and then 30 on like the original Jurassic Park. But um, yeah, no, I think anyone could assume we didn't spend 2 hours and 20 minutes on Honey Don't.
Just the movie
It's
itself.
just
Yeah.
This all being said, we're on 2 hours and 20 minutes. We have 10% battery. We could switch to a phone if it died, but I have.
I can find a fast charger
Oh,
adapter.
please
I'll be
do.
right back.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Bob. But I was gonna say we should. I'll rush, and so it's not too long. I'll just rush through the notes. If you guys just tell me if you want to say something, just I'll wait for Katie. But if you guys want to say something, just um stop me. But I won't ask every time.
I do want to while she's looking for that with
Mhm.
the what was it? So a Bible quote that always well, I just I'm sure I'd heard it before, but I read it at some point and it really blew my mind was when Jesus says, "I come not as a." It's similar to what you just said. It might even be from the same chapter or same book.
Mhm.
But I forget what he says. I come not as a. I think he says, "I come not as a dove.
Think about
Sure.
I come not as a dove, but as a sword."
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Right. Yeah. Like. So that to me
It's the
is like.
it's sort of the opposite of what you're talking about with let sleeping dogs sleep. But I just thought that was a crazy quote that kind of with what Katie was saying way earlier about Jesus being everyone looking at it as like this loving, but there's also the other side of the wrath. Same thing with Jesus. Like people know Jesus as this loving hippie, but he also was, like you said, radical. And yeah,
Mm,
he said, "I will come not as a dove, but as a sword. I will turn brother on brother,
mm.
father against son."
Yep. Well, it's talking about how if you think what he's thinking, it's radical, but and like we're saying, a lot of people aren't ready or wanting to hear that. But um, also, it's not a peaceful. Uh, Obtaining spirituality is not peaceful. It's you go through something called the dark night of the soul, where you have to go to the point of not believing in anything and then start from there to obtain the spirituality. And so it's not a peaceful thing to obtain, but Yeah, there's multiple interpretations, of course. But so Katie was gone, but I'm just gonna keep reading, bub.
Sure, go ahead.
And I'm not gonna pause between the notes. I'm just gonna keep reading. So
Mhm.
just for brevity, because I
Yeah.
want some people to watch this,
Yeah.
and if people can't get to this point, I don't blame them. So, but there's gonna be some good stuff here. So let's see here. So boots and high heels are on the floor in her apartment when she is in the beginning of the film, and they raise her onto man's level and on par with him, and maybe even taller than him in some cases. And she's not led by them. This is the symbolism of that independence from men, like with the leopard print. Um, then there's um, the daughter who she's investigating the death of in the beginning of the film, the MacGuffin. She's reading self-esteem books and self-help books, okay? And that's from a teacher. You read those from a person who's teaching that to you. And meanwhile, her family is um, the mother is continuously saying, fixated on what she believes to be a fact, that the fact that they we ride buses, or sorry, we ride cars in this family, we don't ride the bus. And that metaphorically means we don't go with the rest of society, we're not on the bus, we ride our own car, we get to go, we decide where we go, right? And so that's definitely the opposite of, going off of the daughter. She's a cult member and she's reading self-help books. She's clearly lost, and she's clearly not a leader. And so now, hold on one sec, Trevor. I want to hear what you say. But take this into account as well. Okay? We know they're lying about that. The mother is lying about that. But what about the French woman? She's on a moped. She's on a one person steering car. There's not even a possibility of someone else driving her car, metaphorically, or her moped. So that's the symbolism that is in this movie. This is, you guys, if you don't believe me, this is like I said, made by masters. They know what they're doing. So that's everything is planned out in this film. Trevor?
Just real quick, I thought it was super funny that like she flips through the self-help book and like everything is highlighted. I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
if you caught that. Like every
I-
She
single
has no discernment.
I remember
Yeah.
that too.
discernment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. No, I didn't see that at all. I didn't even notice that. Glad you guys did. So let's see what else we have here. So I'm going past things that I already think I covered well enough. So I won't read those notes. But here.
Are you muted?
Thank you, bub. Yeah. So let me see what if we have more. Okay.
What did you say?
Honest,
Unrelated.
unrelated. Yeah, unrelated. It's okay. Um, okay. And I don't want you, I'll just say it's because I don't want you to be mad. I had to mute it just in case my fart came out loud. I know my cousin's not going to judge me, but but now the cat's out of the bag. I've been doing that kind of throughout the review here and there, but there was an Amanda show, you probably remember, Bub, that they're sitting on the couch, or like they're sitting on the rocking chair together, and they're like dating as a couple, and I think they're cool with one another farting. They're like, it's flatulence, don't worry, like, and that,
Amanda show.
yeah, like I don't want you to
Classic.
be in pain. Just fart in front of me, like it
Yeah.
doesn't fucking matter, like, because honestly, like, I hold it in all the time when I'm like,
That's not good for you,
it's
bro.
not good for you.
Yeah.
And it feels like
Mhm.
shit. So
Yeah.
we shouldn't, just, be humble, be okay with, like
We
everyone
just didn't
says
want
it.
to audibly
Yes.
interrupt the review.
Yeah, exactly. But now, hey, it's out. But better out than in. I always-
Yes.
So, um, just trying to read this real quick. Okay, that was all covered basically. I only said it because I didn't want you to think we were conspiring against you, Trevor.
No, it was funny. I'm just like doodling, and then I look up, and you guys were laughing on mute. But I was like,
Yeah.
Right.
No, my anxiety would have ran away with me. Like, shit, what did they just say? I got something
Right.
to
I know.
tell.
I
I
know.
wasn't too
Exactly.
worried
I don't
about
want
it,
to
but
be
I was curious.
right. I know. I couldn't let you feel that way. I didn't want you to. So even though everyone knows I fart now, guys, I fart in front of my cousin.
It's all that roughage that
Yeah.
you got, right?
Bare truth exposed.
Fair truth. Guys, he farts.
How could you?
Oh my goodness. Jesus. So we might be able to finish it. All right, there's one like freaking epilogue, but we're almost there. Oh, we're actually not almost there. Hold on. Action duty pad. I will not be able to pay attention if you guys keep talking about this, but I watch all the reviews after. So if you guys want to talk about the 4 rules, I remember action, duty, submission, or passion, submission.
I don't remember what they were.
But
I do remember the church was called the Four-Way Church.
The 4 ways, yeah.
Or the Four-Way Temple or something.
4 is the body. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 limbs. And the 4 corners of the earth you shall go and speak my word across the 4 corners of the earth. It's east, northeast, south, and west in the 4 seasons. But earth is 4. It's the material body. This is the heaven, your head, and this is the body, where the action gets carried out. So God's will be carried out through his actions. And so that's why 4D is the material, right? It's we live in a 4D world. Natives worshipped 4 and 8 the most, but the 40 years that Jesus was in the wilderness, the 40 days that Jesus was in the desert, the 40 years that the Jews were in the wilderness, the 40 years that you go to be a wage slave, for lack of better term, sadly, that, and I'm just kidding, you can do a great job and have a nice job, but good luck. It's hard.
It's gonna be longer than 40 years.
Yeah, and it's going to be longer than
getting
40
longer.
years.
Yeah.
So that is, you being in this you being under this 4-dimensional plane for that being in your body, your body, your 4 limbs, the representation of your body. That is that's your trial. You're here on earth on trial, and you're basically going through all these tribulations throughout your life, and that's metaphor for your material existence. The spirit isn't. There's a spirit inside that of your body. It's called the soul, and it's trapped in there for represent. It's trapped in the material, which is represented by 4, and 4 is death. And in Japanese and Chinese, the word pronunciation for death is 4, and you're in a 4 rectangle box when you go into a coffin in the ground. 4 is stability, maturity, in the tarot, you know, material, so material, mature, having the realistic, practical skills, but also being stable, grounded, these are all key words. But all right, now, okay, keep going on that. Okay, said that. Oh, and my parents, not well, one of my parents, my parents are teachers, but my mom said that fourth grade was her favorite, because they were the most easy to teach, and so did the PE coach that I've, substituted with. She's like, fourth grade's my favorite. And I was like, why do you think it's your favorite? She's like, it just is.
Hmm.
But these four is a universal truth that it represents all those things. That's why it's in your body, as above, so below, you know, as as in as in the, macrocosm of the cosmos, so in the microcosm of the body. And so, and the society is the um middle representation of all of that, right? But when you're in fourth grade, right, it's going to be a time where you're ready for the material world, for the work, for the judgment, for the trial, and that's why they're the most um matured and disciplined, because they're on that frequency. They're literally on that four is a part of them at that point, just like if you're born on the fourth day, or your life path number is four, or you're born on the 22nd, that you're born on the fourth, really. To me, those are all things that, I do think they're really when you're 40, that year for you probably is going to be like that. If you're born in the 40s, if you're born in any year that has a four in it. To me, these things you could all, I know, and it can all be so general that it, no, it has no, means nothing. Obviously, I don't know, because all these things are in your imagination. They're unseen. You have to think about them. But just because it's in your head, Harry, doesn't mean it's not real.
Mhm.
So it's all in your head.
Best line.
You're in the matrix, but don't worry about it. Think about it. Maybe later, but maybe now.
Right.
Anyways, so let's see. And mind over matter. Mind is all. Mind makes all. That's the first universal law. The mind is all, right? It's not the brain that makes the reality. It's the mind that makes the brain. It's not the brain that. It's not the material that makes the reality. Or the mind. It's the mind that makes the material brain. Anyways, yep. But let's keep going. So,
We almost might make it to 4 hours.
dude, let's make it. Yeah, this is a yeah. Woo. Well, all right, now we got to stay for that. Now. All right, that's so good. Wow, yeah, this is our foundation. Yeah, and you always want to build on a four-sided foundation. But anyway, just like the pyramids, right?
3 is also a good number too. We might just keep it at 3.
Well, they say so that's the thing. It gets complicated. Is three a more structural foundation? But like I said, the pyramids are built on a four, and I think it's more symbolic in that case. But they have a table in tarot. It's a four-legged table, and that's where all of your skills are. That's where all the elements of the tarot are on, representing all of your
Oh, the suits, you mean? Like
yes.
the wands, cups, and
Exactly. It's on a table, and that table represents the
Four
material
suits.
world. And the four suits, yes. Yeah.
Well, don't you think maybe I'm not as familiar with the tarot or the symbols and all that? I mean,
Mhm.
I'm slightly familiar, but don't I feel like the 3 is like maybe the spirit, whereas the 4 is the material, like you said.
They've said that, and they also say that the three is the man, and the four is the woman, and seven is the man and the woman unified, and that's why it's the perfect number. But always have said that three is or man is the spirit that goes inside of the woman, the material, Mother Earth, mother, and she's the earth goddess, right? And the sky god, man, right? He impregnates her either through rain by, making the land, putting a seed through that, like, sperm, or through impregnating her with the wind, where he blows, this is in myth, blows the seed into her, and so the breath. But either way, he's the higher, the heaven, and then the woman is the material. And but anyways, there's I don't know how we started that, but threes and fours, you know. But yeah, um, let's just see if we real quick. You see. Okay, well, dogs are more followers like of their owner, and cat is more following of itself. And so let sleeping dogs sleep, but Honey's more of a cat. She's more of a feminine feline, and intuitive like the mine and movie. I don't know what that meant, but extrasensory than most asleep people, finding things they can't, like the cat under the bed. Intuitive. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the second sentence was, but anyway, um, kill the chair. Okay. Um, so Aubrey Plaza, she's wanting to conquer the church, right? And needs to win over them, needs to be more powerful than them. Um, she wanted to stop the church. She thinks she could be a better leader. She says to Honey, "What are you doing socially? Like to lead society, basically, or for society." But like I said, that could be, more of an ego thing in some cases to show that you're the best of society to society. And but anyways, um, okay, I don't think this is very deep, but the French lady killed the pastor or the minister because he was getting messy, was sloppy with his business, represented by him losing followers to death, but all to, who died, but also by him having sex with where he works. Remember, she says, I don't do that, right? And French lady is completely with her. In fact, they have sex and then completely against him, although they have sex as well, but she immediately kills him after. And so that sex was not as uniting. Anyways,
Sorry.
no, that's okay. Okay, so good. I'm skipping a lot of this stuff because we went over it, but mm, all right, shit. Well, fuck. Excuse me. I'll just read it real quick. Um, So maybe we could. So French lady was someone who led from the shadows so that men's ego wouldn't get in the way. The men don't even know they're being led, but they need a leader because they're not able to lead themselves, like the unconfident women who follow the church. Um, Men want order and clones, followers that will be the same and want the same as them. And this is an overgeneralization of men. Followers that will be the same and want the same as them. Women are more free. It's an overgeneralization of women. Like Honey, they don't need to control people. They allow for creative solutions. Um, like the French lady taking out Honey's enemy of the church instead of Honey having to be the one to conquer the church. She is now literally and figuratively free of their evil. Um, she doesn't need to know all the answers or explain things like who was the French lady, and she isn't fixed in her ways of justice. She's okay with the French lady killing and doesn't try to catch her. Her justice isn't black and white, it's balanced, free to let justice be served in any manner. This is so glad I read that actually, but this is feminine and masculine, not men and women. Most of American society is overly masculine, competitive, and fixed in their ways, trying to control others to be like them and not in a healthy way. The gay man is a good representation of toxic masculinity. He's only feminine superficially, and he doesn't have any of the feminine. So that's where a man's becomes imbalanced because they only have masculinity, and it's even a false version of that, machismo. And so anyways, the gay man is a good representation of toxic masculinity. He's only feminine superficially, and he's all reason and logic oriented. He wants answers and explanations. He wants to know and control through knowing. Com- competitive competitive He also competitively wants to find the man his husband is cheating with and take him down so you can look better, like a leader or winner, and gain power. Remember this in juxtaposition to the open relationships that Honey goes for, right? She's not looking to control people. She's taking care of herself and not making it so much to take care of herself that she's also trying to feed her ego, which, you know, pride cometh before the fall. But Honey don't like don't wake sleeping dogs, like don't waste your time trying to control society, just protect your family like Honey, family and friends. Men are all about sides and division and order. Women are freer, want love and compassion for all, want everyone to be happy, not as concerned about their way, more about others. Honey doesn't have to solve the girl's murder, right? Nitpick, child acting was a bit rough. And like I said, the first bar scene felt a little bit low budget, but it was, like I said, I think the frame rate's going on. Something's going on with the frame rate, maybe just for that scene, and they had to use it, maybe because of the low budget, so they stuck with it. All right. Let's see here. All right. So let's just read this just in case. Leopard is untamable and free, like the French woman. She is seen alone and unhindered by the rules or the laws. Honey is the same way. She is an independent investigator. She also is a less conventional caretaker. She doesn't yell at her niece, whereas her niece's mother does. She also breaks the law to beat up the man who beats up her niece, so she follows her own rules, and then she doesn't finish her investigation. Um, uh, she technically does. She just doesn't finish, what the justice system would do with the investigation, maybe. MG, Aubrey Plaza's character, on the other hand, is first seen wearing a police uniform while metaphorically in prison and represented. MG, Aubrey Plaza's character, on the other hand, is first seen wearing a police uniform while metaphorically imprisoned and repressed and literally behind the bars of the armory of the police station. So, literally in prison. But she's imprisoned herself because she's her unconscious is ruling her, right? Her desires and her fears are ruling her actions without her knowing it. And she is also a control freak and wants to have authority and power over people, the opposite of Honey, who is more focused on her own way of being over that of others. She is free from her ego and is able to see a more free and nuanced form of justice, one that doesn't seek possession and submission from others, but self-control and discipline and righteousness within herself. Wearing the leopard skin likens the wearer to a wild and free animal where nature is the only ruler, not men. French lady has white and red moped, and then Honey has a pink shirt in the end, right? And white and red symbolism, maybe. Pink symbolism, which is white and red mixed. White is God, purity. Red is the bloodline, the divine bloodline. That's why the princess wore pink, at least in wherever I got that from. So she's wearing pink in the end. She's like the perfect mix of material blood, and human, and white god. So I guess she's impregnated herself with the with knowledge, I guess, which is the thing that the hero in the hero's journey does. But then he brings it back to the society, which is like Odysseus or Aeneas or whatever. I've been reading it a lot. I can't remember how to pronounce his name, Aeneas or something. But anyways, here's the super long text. Bear with me, folks. This is the only thing I actually did get to proofread before I did the review, or am doing the review today, because it's so long, and it was like looking at all those notes is so daunting of a task to even organize or make a review out of. So this is why I kept putting it off, even though we've had a month break, and I saw the movie like two days or 3 days or a week after we did the Shin Godzilla review. But anyways, today I wanted to do something in my spare time to do with it, and it was going over this like 2,000 word thing. So bear with me real quick. At least it's proofread. So, but it's very hard, and I don't even understand the whole thing. So I'm reading a book and have read books about Jungian psychology, and so this is what it's kind of trying to understand. But anyways, Trevor liked it even in the unproofread version last night, so hopefully everyone does. But everyone does with the proofread version now. So Honey's independence is shown by her independence from her parents. Her mother died young when Honey was a baby, and her father also left her life when she was very young. He later shows up in Honey's adult life, but Honey tells him he has been dead for a long time. This cements her adulthood and self-sufficiency from her parents, and symbolically her self-sufficiency from their ways and their world. She follows her own ways while she masters herself, not the ways of her parents. She is dependent on no one and thus out of their control. She is no longer symbolically controlled by her instincts or primitive self, because she's harnessed her instincts to serve her instead. Her parents can represent the primitive instincts. Honey follows her intuition and instincts when investigating, but also when in love, which all lead her where she needs to go, because she uses these powers actively and consciously instead of letting them run her. She balances her instincts with her ability to discern when it's the right time to listen to those instincts, as she later learns to become one with her sexual desires. She follows intuitive clues and has sex as a reward for work, but tries not to mix the two as to reduce interference. She does fault in a way when having sex with a work partner, that is the police officer MG. But this intimacy with the shadow version of herself, represented by MG being another woman who is unfree in her investigation or police work, as opposed to, Honey, who's free. But MG represents Honey's, or the intimacy with MG, the shadow version of herself, represents Honey's integration with her unconscious. Really, it actually, the death of MG represents that to me, at least more, because she's conquered the thing that was conquering her. But so in other words, the corruption Honey is trying to solve is also within herself, that being the faults she still has of mixing instinctual desires of sex with the higher desire to find the truth through investigation. And they say that the desires are food, sex, and power. So in the book I'm reading, that's what they say the desires are, or at least in one part they do. All right, so the same unconscious corruption is at the heart of her investigation, as the church claims to have the truth, yet is run by a pervert. At the end, Honey integrates this darkness of sex within the workplace with the French woman, who was once also thought of as evil by the audience. When Honey does this, she is symbolically no longer in danger of being controlled by her desires, like she was with MG at work. She now incorporates sex consciously in a way where she can see the sex or person fully, because she may not know all about the Frenchwoman or her unconscious, but she at least knows that it isn't evil, or that she isn't evil, right? Before this, Honey thought against incorporating her investigation at work for truth with sex, representative of her higher and lower self. But now she sees how sex can be balanced in the workplace. This is even hinted at in the end with the male detective, and could foreseeably happen in the future with her lesbian assistant as well. I don't know if you guys saw, she has a lesbian assistant in the workplace, and they don't have any sort of sexual thing.
Hmm.
But I was thinking, you remember the black lady who's her
Yeah.
assistant? I was thinking that maybe,
She's lesbian too.
I mean, she's like, she has like the short hair and stuff like that. And I don't know. Yeah, that's a
Oh,
good question.
okay.
Is she even lesbian? But I was just thinking maybe that was like a thing that she would eventually go to now that she's like not afraid of mixing work in.
Okay.
Um, um, okay, she is now whole and no longer needs to resent a sexual work partner, representative of a hidden part of herself, because she knows how to harness any subconscious challenges like MG, ones that are controlling for egotistical reasons, like MG or previously her father. If a partner or unconscious thing comes up, she could still control her instincts as to not be completely led by them, because she would then be able to discover it like she discovered MG's true nature and plot. She so basically, since she's seen what MG's capable of, right? Now she's more, she know, and that's her unconscious. She knows how to spot it, and so now she doesn't have to be afraid of the unconscious or the character, and it's now integrated with her. She's now aware of the unconscious, so she's looking out for, if I'm going to have sex with this person in my workplace, like, is this going to be detrimental to the workplace, instead of just being black and white and separating conscious and unconscious and being like, I'm never going to do that. Now she knows what to look for in the person, and she's integrated her shadow. But so she would no longer be going into life blind, and instead be able to reroute her desires to more positive ones, right? Like she might, if she if she sees that that route is not going to be a positive thing, she'll still not have sex in the workplace, but at least she's not repressing the possibility of it, because a lot of the times the unconscious rules us through fears and desire, thing we're repressing, right?
Hmm.
Like well, I won't give an example because it'll go so off, but anyways, um so through discovering the unconscious, she becomes fully conscious. She is now fully aware. There is still darkness, but she's aware of it. She may not know how it fully operates. There's still mystery within her investigation, but she is now at least aware of the shadow, MG, although not fully aware of how and why it operates, the Frenchwoman. She is aware of the unconscious, darkness, shadow now, so at least she has more control over it. She's in touch with it, the Frenchwoman, and understands it better. Like how she's okay with the French woman killing the minister and not bringing her to justice. And really quick, I want you guys to comment on that if you want, because there was so much. But thing I would add to the beginning, but didn't add while I was reading it because it would have been too confusing for the audience, I think. But her parents, remember, her mother died in childhood, right? And then her father died earlier. So this could be many things, and it is many things. But first thing that came to my mind was that her mother dying is her when her mother died, she became she became a better version of femininity, and when her father died, she became a better version of masculinity. Um, and because maybe she was a woman, she was more inclined to have the feminine thing happen first. And because she's more selfless, which is a feminine quality, she's inclined to have that happen first. Remember the thing, and of course she's not perfect with it, but the thing that the thing that holds her back in the movie, not being able to figure out MG, is that she's too selfless, right? Too feminine, right? And so sometimes you could embody the feminine but go too far with it, and even though you're doing better than maybe most people because you're at least expressing that quality, you're still maybe harming yourself by overdoing it. The other way it could be interpreted is that the feminine the mother died first. I know people are yelling at me, they're like, yeah, here's how you interpret it. The mom died first and then the dad died second. But I don't know. But that's not how my mind thinks. I think about it more than that, and maybe it isn't more than that. But anyways,
Well, she was just saying her dad died metaphorically
metaphorically, but
to her.
that even gives maybe more validity to my argument, maybe,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Because it is almost symbolic
Hmm.
in nature, because she's saying he died, but he didn't really die.
Like she's saying, like, you're dead to me.
Right. You're dead
Yeah.
to me. Your way is dead to me. And that's it. So the feminine dying first is, so you're supposed to, in Freudian psychology, you're supposed to well, everyone has this Oedipus complex, that you want to have incest with your mother, and you want to usurp your dad, um and you're jealous of him, but that shoot the dad,
Oedipus marries his mother and kills his father.
right, and that's why he called it the Oedipus complex. But then there's also um you um yeah, I can't even think about it right now. Anyways, it's had something to do with society, and I think the man represented society. I can't remember, but so anyways, the power of love. Combine the power of man and use it with the love of women. And power, right? Or kind leader, like I've said in the Superman review, be a kind leader. Um, it's a lot harder probably because we've been programmed, but I think that it's going to be the best way to go in the future. Kindness is the savior of the future. It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. It's by Manly P. Hall. So her, let's see what else we have. Do you think we should bring this up again?
I think we kind of covered that part.
Same.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, something I picked up on was the French lady calls it the stupid American way, implying, and this is big stretch, but could be implying the stupid American way, when especially he goes like, "What, you mean missionary?" And to me, I think maybe, it could be she's implying that missionary is the dumb American way because it leads to unwanted children, as is the position most likely to lead to pregnancy. And remember, French people are notoriously into anal, just saying. So, which obviously doesn't lead to children. But so I think that possibly there was like a little,
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, with the missionary thing.
No, how
The
French
second.
people are into anal. I've
Yeah,
never heard that.
that's so funny. Yeah, yeah, I know. I don't know. I think well, I'm pretty almost positive I heard that.
Hmm.
Um, but so now a couple last things. Bird flies out of cage when honey falls to the ground. So Katie pointed out the bird flying out of the cage, and I was like trying to decode other shit, and I didn't see that. Did you say more about that when you?
Uh, Whenever there's animals in a movie, I tend to fixate on them
Katie
because I'm
is like
like
the biggest
the
animal
biggest
lover.
animal ever.
Yeah.
So there was a bird trapped in a cage, and its owner presumably dies. So I'm concerned about what's going to happen to the bird. But the bird did escape the
That was
cage at the end.
that was so cute. She's literally
Yeah,
thinking about that.
I'm like, yeah, the
But
MG ends up dying, and I'm
the
like, oh,
fake
but the
bird.
bird.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Uh,
well, and we don't know if the main character's dead at that point.
right, I
So
know. But the cage, it's a really small bird cage, by the way, but it falls over, and then eventually the bird does get
really
out.
small bird cage. Yeah.
Yeah, the bird escapes, and then ends up flying around the house, because it doesn't know where to go, and it's trying to find an exit, I assume. And I've heard that a bird loose inside
Mm,
is like an omen of death or like a bad omen.
interesting. I
I
wonder
think
where
I
that
think
comes
I
from
got that
and
from
why.
BoJack Horseman.
Okay. So hopefully
Uh,
BoJack wasn't just making up shit.
yeah,
I
probably.
have heard that as well.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Like a wild bird getting in your house and flying
Right.
around is like
So
not
this
good.
one isn't a wild bird, it's a pet bird, but it's
Right.
still flying around the house aimlessly.
Yeah.
And eventually it flies into a window and we presumably dies because uh it falls to the floor and there's the subtitles said thud or something. Uh so presumably the bird does die at the end. And then you brought up how
Yes.
the bird was
Metaphor.
metaphor for honey. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for like I might have missed that part, but it's so as Katie's being the big animal lover that she always is, I'm like the massive metaphorical junkie, and I'm going. She's saying that, and I'm like, Katie, thank God for like making me think about that, because so yes, I immediately was like, oh, this is Honey being freed from her unconscious, or at least the control of her unconscious, and um,
Bird
the
is
cage.
a bird caged and then escaping is always like a classic metaphor for freedom,
Right.
Yeah.
And
But
it's
and here's the last. Okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and it's a lot of this one especially, but yeah, it's not like an obvious metaphor,
Hmm.
but it's a very clear metaphor. Like I wouldn't have picked up on that like in the moment watching it, but once you say it, I'm like, yeah, that's very clearly like in this moment she is like free of her shadow.
It's
Right.
in the movie, it's kind of actually really tragic because the bird is in a cage
Hmm.
and it escapes that cage, but it's still not free because it's trapped in the house.
And that's a metaphor as well.
Yeah.
So, and this freedom that you get from your unconscious is also the freedom you get from when you understand there is a spiritual world beyond the material world that you see, and it's any transformation that your limited thinking goes away. You get out of that small cage. Now you're free. But look, you're in the house still. You're still, like Katie's saying, in a bigger cage. And guess what? That bigger cage represents the
Society.
well, okay, that and it does exactly because now you're stuck. It's like, yeah, you might have leveled up and evolved,
Hmm.
but everyone else hasn't, so you're stuck with them.
Hmm.
But now guess what? It's also representative of, because like I said, it's representative of many things. It's also representative of, yes, you might have that breakthrough, one of the ones that I listed, but you're still stuck in the material body, material realm,
Hmm.
the house, right? So
Well,
that's
we might be even be further trapped by something we don't understand because if you think
hmm
about it in terms of the bird, the bird probably still doesn't understand that it's in a bigger cage, the house. I'm sure the bird understood its small cage.
Right.
The bird was capable of, because birds are pretty smart.
Right. It doesn't even know it's in the house.
But right, exactly.
Right. It doesn't know there's a world beyond the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's the thing. You could, so I can say all the time, I believe in there's an afterlife, or I believe in there's a spiritual world outside of this. I can't prove it though, and I can't prove that we're in a simulation or matrix thing, and I can't prove whatever's going to be after that. So be careful of people who do say that they could prove what's after that. Maybe they had some altered mental status through altered states and on drugs. Maybe they had a astral projection thing. Maybe they had a dream. Maybe they had they were meditating. Maybe they were sleep deprived and they traveled there, and they saw that. But at the same time, they came back. Who's to say it was real or not? I definitely, believe in a lot of it, but and also say you speak with something on that other side, that entity or something, and you find there's something else. Who's to say they weren't lying, or who's to say? Of course, people always say that was a hallucination. It's psychology. Anyways,
Real quick, just a real. I don't know. Obviously, like you're saying,
mhm,
we don't know. But the creepiest thing I've pretty much ever heard. I forget where I heard this, but like someone was saying, I think it was our buddy Hamza. He
mm,
was saying when you die and you see the light and
mhm,
you see your family or you hear your dead family members, that is I guess if you would, demonic, maybe not demonic, but like it's trying to get you to reincarnate. It's the samsara thing. Like it's a
mm,
false projection trying to get you to go back towards reality to be born, as opposed to if you are enlightened and you
mhm,
understand you have everything and you are one with everything, you don't need to make that choice to go towards anything. You're already there. And
mm.
that's
Right.
always freaked me out because most people most people they die, they see their dead family members that they love and they see a light, they're going to go towards that. But
Mhm.
that's a very eastern idea. I'm pretty sure I haven't really heard it anywhere else. I think I heard it somewhere else, but yeah, that really stuck with me. I was like, that's spooky, but it kind of makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Yeah. There's.
I don't know
Um.
if I believe that that's what happens, but as like
Yeah.
an idea,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
That
Yeah.
is interesting.
And near-death experience would be another way that you might have seen the other side.
I
But
was surprised you didn't say that. I thought that's where you were going with all those examples.
yeah, sorry. Yeah. That's what I
You're
brought
good.
up in the Fantastic Four, but in the Fantastic Four review. But
I don't mean to
no, you're
go
good, bud.
further off topic, but
Please.
near death experiences are one thing that I have a fascination with because I've had one. And I think I've told this to you before,
Hmm.
but most of my experience line up with everyone else. But the one thing that doesn't, though, is I didn't see a light or see people I love, like you were saying. That's the one thing that my experience differs from everyone else. So I
Did it
find
feel?
that's
Did it
interesting.
feel blissful?
Yes.
Hmm. Right.
Hmm. Yeah, it feels like you're at peace, one with the universe, kind of like Trevor said, or
Hmm.
however he put it. It feels
Nice.
like you've achieved nirvana, kind of. At least that's how it felt to me, and that's what most people say who've experienced near death experience is that you feel like an overwhelming sense of peace.
My dad
Oh,
saw the devil's face, he said, when he was having an extreme fever for multiple days as
Oh,
a child. And so that goes into the demons with the Samsara thing. But and yeah, my dad has seen other things astral projected when he was meditating as a like teenager. Uh, yeah, super, super really cool stuff. But okay. Last thing is, I saw like a cool Instagram reel, and it was that we basically, through our partner, we are attempting to reparent ourselves and look for safety. And I feel like, yeah, I won't even attempt it right now because we've already gone on so long. But yeah, that's probably something in the movie. And then balance between higher and lower self. So I kind of like to separate the work and the business. Um, and then yeah, we we talked about basically everything. Do you want to bring that up, Bob?
Oh yeah. The one of the things I noticed, and Mikey and I got into a conversation during the movie when I pointed this out, was uh the shape of the cross of the church on the church and
Mm,
on the rings
right.
in the movie. Uh it's like not typically how you see a Christian cross portrayed. Like it was very unique. The ends were like pointed
Right.
and sharp. And Mikey kind of pointed out how it's like a dagger,
The
which is
penetrating aspect of the
right,
male genitalia.
right. How daggers are typically associated with like as like phallic imagery.
And Katie said it was in Shakespeare, I
Yeah,
believe.
I mean that's typically where I think of daggers as metaphor for phallic imagery, like Romeo and Juliet. You know.
Yeah. And this is the using it as a weapon more, using it as something to harm, that society has basically done with it. And the symbolism of horns, which come, the word horny. Um, the symbolism is actually, there's two things that I know of at least, but there's many more. And remember, the devil wears horns, and he's all about temptation and horniness. But sorry, the horns represent maturity, so they can be representative of wisdom, just like long hair, right? So only an adult deer would have grown out horns, or even horns in general. I think they don't start growing them until, adulthood. Anyways, the other thing that it represents is aggression, right? Because you're going to, penetrate with them. And so the church being some part of that aggressive force, and you know, the penetrating society, impregnating them with their thought and their rule, their mind control, is a maybe some symbol from that church, at least the way that church and that cult was run. But anyways, wow, what are we at? 3 hours and 18 minutes.
Hmm.
Wow. Whatever you guys want to say else. I'm so happy.
I wanted to ask you a question, end with a question, I guess. I heard you say you feel like your ultimate message of the movie was leave sleeping dogs lie or something.
Yes, yes.
I wanted to hear Trevor's take on that.
Okay.
On the message of the movie.
Yeah, like what your
Um,
interpretation of it was.
well, you know, initially I thought it was especially with me thinking that the ending was different. I, I'm with Mike now, but initially when I first watched it, I thought it was about basically this the fact that it started and ended with this sexual thing that she was going through, because like it ends, she like is totally flirting with the bad guy. I kind of thought the message at first was like basically she's just like going to continue to go down this. I mean, not that it was a bad path, but like yeah, I thought that she was distracted from her purpose with these relationships, and it seemed like that was going to be a continuation of that. But after hearing this from Mike, that I'm totally with him, that because yeah, even when we spoke about this, he and I talked about some of this stuff on the phone, and I still wasn't really convinced. Like I said at the beginning, actually, I thought maybe this is like a cosmic thing, like aside from the director and the writer, like some of these things just bled through. But it is clear that like a lot of this was intentional and they were aware of this like relationship between like the shadow self or the unconscious and the, as a lot of artists are. Yeah, I just wasn't, yeah, I'm with you that it's kind of like this, she fully, it was like a full circle thing for her. Um, Especially that in the end with the French lady and her flirting with her. I no longer think that was like a bad thing, that she's like, oh, she's going to continue this cycle
Mm-hmm.
of these relationships that aren't really fulfilling. I think she's become more aware of like herself and like her freedom, and is in control of that. So it's like the freedom and the control, I
I,
think.
I just laughed because I thought this is longer than the movie. But yeah, the freedom
Way
twice as long as
longer.
the movie. Yeah, yeah.
Because it was actually a short movie.
Yes, and I
Yeah.
love short movies because they get their job done real quick and they don't
Yeah.
take your time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the freedom and control thing, or the freedom and power thing, right? Or love and power. Um, that's like the Jurassic Park review we started with. Guys, go back and watch the Jurassic Park or Jurassic World Rebirth review and check out what we talk about with Jurassic Park, the original movie. Excuse me, because what is one person's freedom is another person's uh, captivity, basically. So if you want your way to be the way, right? You're free to have your rule, your order, right? The power to rule them all, right? That's your freedom. That's your version of freedom. But it could be the opposite of the other person's freedom because now they're not able to do their own will.
Mm-hmm.
So that's in MG's character. That's in, maybe the church or wherever it is. So, um, and that's in, of course, Honey, right? She ends up kind of leaving um, that, that feedback, the positive feedback loop, because she's just like, that's why I said, let sleeping dogs sleep, yield to, what's out of your control, because, um, yeah, you know, it's not in your control, other than yourself. And you, someone said this recently, I know it's not really the same thing, but like, no one can take your hope away. No one could take your optimism away. Focus on those things. Because really it's the only thing that someone can't take from people. Can take your life, even, right? People can take away your means of life, but if you have hope, you have faith, you can still be happy in any situation. So
What did you think? Did you have a message you took away?
Um, I hadn't really given it much thought. I haven't had as much time to digest the movie as you guys because I only saw it last week.
He saw it 2 days ago,
Oh, really?
but
Okay.
but he had the more digested version of what I just said, like, and way more notes than when I saw it with you for the
Okay.
second time. He had like,
Typically, I need a lot more time and uh, subsequent rewatches to take away a full message from a movie because I can be kind of dense. I fully appreciate symbolism and metaphor, and I appreciate a lot of Mikey's insight into movies. But it typically takes me a lot longer to absorb that stuff, that kind of stuff, or even recognize it. So I did take away a lot of feminine themes though in this movie, which and I always appreciate a female lead or female driven story. So
yeah, that feminine, that we didn't, I don't think we touched on it enough, but the
yeah.
feminine, well, the to me, the way to I say this all the time when I'm giving a tarot reading. The spiritual path starts with the emotional path, and the emotional path is, I love him. The emotional path is being in touch with your own emotions, but also the emotions of others. So, makes you an empath, makes you a better person because you don't want to harm people because you put yourself in their shoes and be like, what would I want to be done to me? And that to me leads you on the spiritual path because you're only going to get to the spiritual path if you're on that oneness, on that, they're a part of me vibe. And I don't think you earn it unless you are on that, because I think that the divine inspiration of you feeling it, truly feeling that belief in a higher power and belief in God and belief in, a reason for all of this, and that peace that comes with it. I think that's only earned once you have given some of yourself away and given some of your ego away, in doing those things that I was just saying. But that is kind of to be a woman. So I think that that's a good way of wrapping it up. You know, that's kind of more of what the woman is. That's kind of their nature, is to give themselves, and yep, they give life, and you know, a lot of themselves in raising it. And anyways, that's about it, y'all. I think that we've covered it. You good,
Yeah,
Katie? You
I
think?
think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed this review. I look forward to being part of more in the future,
Me too.
hopefully.
Oh, but every time. I'll just, the only problem is scheduling. When if we could all get scheduled, but now that we're not worried about. So here's the best part. This is why it's more than 2 hours, guys. Go on StreamYard. Now you're allowed 20 hours of recording time, which last review, the Shin Godzilla review, and was the last time I looked at it, you were only allowed 2 hours. So we can make long videos, and we're not as concerned about. The only thing I am concerned about with scheduling is if we get the video out quicker, while people are looking up movie review on that movie, right? When it just released, we'll be like one of the 10 videos that are even out. So it'll be many more views.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
I was
that's going to be the one thing that drives me to be like, guys, let's make the video now.
Mhm.
Not like out of like, let's rush it, because I
Right.
want to be like a YouTube star or something like that. That's not what this is for. This
Yeah.
is literally just to put these thoughts out into the world. What were you going to say, Trevor?
yeah, this one was my bad. Yeah, because I also really wanted to see it in theaters, but just with work and stuff, like I just didn't get the chance to in time. But hopefully in the future I can just get it done quicker. I don't know. It was a particularly busy few weeks. It shouldn't be like that. Oh,
Yeah, he's my baby. Hey, baby.
that's sweet. So yeah,
No, yeah. Well, it all worked out, obviously. I think we're all like really happy with how this went.
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
All right.
one for the books.
One for the books. And this will be one where I just reference, a lot, just like the Jurassic Park one. Like, guys, just watch the one where we went because like I feel like we went through a lot of stuff that is dense, but we made it accessible. So to go through that again might be a little bit too challenging, but you know, we'll try.
You could probably watch this one on double speed.
Definitely watch this one on double speed. Yeah, yeah, and it's taking only the movie's length. That's the best part. Hey, baby boy.
Do you have any last words, Jake?
You had to be in a video. He's like, yeah.
Jake the dog. That's
Yeah.
a
Jake the
human
dog.
name.
That's
I know. Yeah, both my dogs have
Katie's
human
dogs.
names.
Yeah.
Jake, and the other one is Clive.
Clive. That's cool.
And the original dog in my life was Katie's dog, Jesse,
Mhm.
who is another name.
Yeah, another human name.
Epic.
Oh, he heard me.
Oh
call
wow.
him. here's
Another baby.
Clive. Yes, I did. I said your name. Yes, I did.
Yep, those are the boys. Okie dokie. Well, love you guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Great having this time with you guys.
Great having this time with you
Oh
both.
yeah.
Look
right.
forward to the next one.
To many more. We're already planning Wicked. We want to do the Wicked 2. We want to do one battle after another. That'll be this month. Also want to do Spider-Man 2.1. Did you know what I'm talking about?
No, but
Oh.
I'll be on it.
Yeah, there's more Spider-Man now in Spider-Man 2. There's more scenes. And then no, it's gonna be good though.
Wait, you mean Tobey Maguire?
Yeah.
Spider-Man?
Yeah, they're re-releasing it with an extended cut.
Holy shit. Okay.
And I don't know if you'd be interested in this one, but I think since you're very unbiased and unjudgmental,
Yeah.
we're doing the Kanye next, basically.
He's doing a movie?
Yes.
There's a documentary out right
It
now.
might only be out this weekend.
I
That's the
would
thing.
absolutely be on board for that.
I'm so happy you will be. I told him that you're based. So
I could tell. I was like, there. Yeah, I could tell just from like some of the things I was saying. I didn't say anything too crazy, but I mean,
Yeah, I tried to rein it in, but
nice.
be careful.
he's super level-headed. I think all three of us are really level-headed and not egotistical or like trying to virtue signal or anything like that.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
Not about virtue signaling.
yeah.
I think if you're a good person, you can tell. You don't have to, you show it with your actions. You don't have to
Exactly.
announce it to the world.
And we don't have to agree with everything everyone said. Right?
Exactly. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So it's all love. So, all right, guys, we will upload this tonight, and then the Kanye West Saturday or Sunday. I'm gonna watch it, bub, because it released, and we don't know how long it's gonna be out. So
That's the next one.
yeah.
The Kanye West one. Okay.
So, but that will probably be the quickest turnaround that we have to do for any movie.
Sure.
So, all right, guys, thank you for watching.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
See you, Trevor.
See you,
See ya.
bub. Good night.